Hey folks, Dirks Bentley here. If you've seen one of my concerts, you know I'm all about energy. Performing, recording, traveling, being a husband and a father, it's a busy life, and I need to be 100% every day. So when my battery starts running low, I grab a sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-hour energy shot. It tastes great, and it gets me back to 100% fast. Try it. It could work for your busy life too. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
How will training camp news affect tonight's live draft? Will the Dynasty pros be able to dominate tonight's redraft format? And how will the competitors treat the rookie running backs tonight? Follow along with the live draft board and listen to our pick-by-pick analysis as we call the action from the 2018 Pros vs. Joes The Walkman League Number 4 to see who will win a 2019 FFPC main event team. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Hey. Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, presented by MyFFPC.com. I am your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is, of course, the patron saint of fantasy football, Dave the Dizzle Gerzak. Tonight, we have the fourth of 6 special episodes for you this 2018 season. It's the FFPC Pros vs. Joes, the Walkman League Number 4 draft tonight, and we'll be covering it for the next 2 hours. You can follow the live draft board at youtube.com/highstakesfantasyfootball, and shout out to the chat room at Blog Talk Radio right now. Post your questions. You might have them there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so at HSFFhour, at Eric Balkman, or at David Gerzak. Facebook.com/HSFFhour is where to find us there. And, of course, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA if you want to give us a call and talk tonight. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you do have any questions for us, now's the time to send them. Our producer and mutual friend, Rob, and our audio engineer, Bryce, will try to get those to us throughout the next 2 hours on the show this evening. Also, point of reference, I should let everybody know that for anybody who's been following the Pros vs. Joes drafts on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, you'll know that we had a very tough draft this past Monday night, and we've already heard from Evan Silva this past on our Friday night show. He came on and talked about it. Tonight we'll actually be talking to Jason Rockfeldt from SportsInjuryPredictor.com. He'll be calling in at the top of next hour, and we're going to talk to him briefly about his draft, and then he'll give us his thoughts on how tonight's draft is progressing. So we'll definitely be hearing from him tonight. For anybody who's not familiar with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, we air year-round at 10/9 Central on Friday nights. On-demand streaming available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, Spreaker, and Overcast. And I do want to thank, as I always do at the start of the show, Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com, who puts together the Pros vs. Joes competition every year. And he's actually drafting tonight, too, so we'll see how he does. I want to thank the FFPC as well. Tonight's lineup, drafting from the 1 spot is FFPC Joe, and there's a lot of, dual teams tonight, so I'll read, both co-managers. Paul Miley and Arnie Grebenowski are drafting from the first spot, longtime FFPC dynamic duo there. From Dynasty Command Center, DynastyLeagueFootball.com, Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell in the 2 spot. Casey and Christian Dodge are the Joes drafting in the 3 hole. Of course, the aforementioned Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com hitting cleanup tonight. Former HSFF Hour guests Jay Reed and Scott Connor right behind Armani as the FFPC Joes from the 5 spot. An FFPC Joe and an FFPC Pro, a guy who definitely plays FFPC live events out in Vegas and online stuff. Fantasy Sports Central's Mike Visconti is in the 6 spot. Keno Moss and Eric Young will be drafting 7th. Might actually hear from Keno tonight, too. Former guest of the show. We'll see if he can reach us, and we'll analyze his draft, and he'll give us his thoughts on his team. From the 8th spot, it's Alex Melio and Austin Lee from FootballGuys.com. Adrian Quintana and Mike Moorman are drafting 9th tonight. Right after them, big guy FantasySports.com's own Bob Lung from the 10 spot. Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen are drafting 11th, and of course, football diehards Jen Ryan will be drafting from the 12th spot on the turn tonight. That is what is going on. I feel bad, Dave. I haven't let you talk yet. How are you feeling as we kick off the second half of 2018 Pros versus Joes?
I'm not too burnt out yet, Buffy. I feel pretty good. The main event draft spots just came out 5 minutes ago. We just released those. They went out to the main list. Okay,
that's very exciting, but now everybody's going to be checking that. I mean, you don't need to turn off the broadcast, I guess, to check to see what draft spots
you can multitask.
I think it was just under 900 main event spots that went out. We have 1,000 teams registered. And what was our cap this year on the contest? Is it 1,800 teams?
Yeah, 1,800. I mean, we just threw together a pretty large increase, and we did actually have a significant amount of prizes. So the value's there actually. Yeah,
the value's there. I said 1,800 was aggressive from the get-go, and I don't think we'll hit it. I mean, you might be a little bit more optimistic than I am, but that means picking up a second team at 1,500 or a third team at 1,500, $300 off the price. That's a really smart idea for anybody who's thinking about getting in the main event again.
Yeah, 1440 is what we finished with last year, so
yeah,
I think 1,600 would be a nice number to finish with. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Sign up at myffpc.com. You can actually still get your early draft spot if you did not get it tonight, if you did not register, if you're not paid in full. If you are paid in full by Monday, August 13th, you'll get your spot on Wednesday, August 15th. That will be our next early draft slot announcement. So you still know where you're picking in the main event 2 weeks ahead of time, which is more than half the battle. Let's get into the pick-by-pick analysis tonight, Dave, as round 1 is already completed. Kicking things off, Miley and Grebenowski take Todd Gurley number 1, no surprise there. Maybe a little bit of a surprise, Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell going with David Johnson at the 102 tonight. We've seen Gurley and Bell go 1-2, I think, in every Pros vs. Joes draft thus far. David Johnson goes 2 tonight. Le'Veon Bell obviously falls to 3 for Casey and Christian Dodge there, the FFPC Joes. Ezekiel Elliott to Darren Armani at 104. Darren Armani, of course, going chalk, apparently, with Elliott at 104. He's not going to wow us. He's seen what happens in these drafts. So he takes the safe bet Elliott at 104. Alvin Kamara to Reed and Connor at the 105. And the first receiver off the board is, of course, Antonio Brown. And it is Mike Visconti from Fantasy Sports Central taking Antonio Brown. Saquon Barkley to Eric Young and Keno Moss at the 7th spot. DeAndre Hopkins, the second receiver, off the board tonight to Alex Melio and Austin Lee from FootballGuys.com. Melvin Gordon is Adrian Quintana and Mike Moorman's selection at the 109. Michael Thomas right after that to Bob Lung at 110. Kareem Hunt at the 111 tonight to Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen. And Jen Ryan takes Rob Gronkowski, first tight end off the board at the 112. Anything stand out to you in the first round, Dave? I mean, sometimes I think that we're going to get wowed in the first round, and rarely do we, I guess. Everybody's willing to go chalky in the first round, and then they'll wow us afterwards. Maybe the biggest surprise pick of the round wasn't much of a surprise at all. David Johnson, the 102 pick to Dynasty Command Center's Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell.
Yeah, I mean, everything was pretty much as predicted. Johnson maybe just a little bit ahead of normal, but it's fine. This is the first round. That's how it normally goes.
We are through one round here. We're going to tell you what's going on in the second round in a second. But before we do that, let's go to the phone lines, take an early phone call tonight. This is from the 631. You are on the air with Dave and Balky on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Who are we speaking with?
My name is Brandon.
How's it going tonight, man? What do you think of the draft thus far?
Oh, I'm not really like following it.
You're not following? Okay, that's fine. We could talk fantasy with you. What's on your mind?
Actually, we need to talk about the Jets. I think the Jets are going to have a good season. I think they need to sign Sam Darnold. I think that's their like number one goal that they should do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you for sure, and we might get to see some Sam Darnold later on in this draft. Thanks so much for the call. Sam Darnold, Dave, probably going to be selected in just about all the Pros versus Joe's drafts.
He's pissed about his contract.
Do you think he's going to get is he going to get the job week one, or at what point do we see Sam Darnold taking real snaps for the Jets this season?
Well, if he's holding out, it doesn't really help his cause at all. I think it might be a while. It sounds like Josh Allen might actually get the job for the Bills because everyone else is so below replacement level at quarterback.
I did see that.
So Josh Allen actually, I think he has a legitimate shot to start. And I mean, he'll be spraying the ball all over the place, but he'll put up. It's better to have him than these other guys that are just so terrible.
Yeah, and
I don't even like Josh.
No, I know. You had that report this week that Allen's actually looked the best from the beat reporter, saying that he looks like the best quarterback in camp thus far. I don't know if that's great for any Bills skill position guys if he's looking best, but
yeah, I guess. But he should. I mean, he's a guy that has a rocket arm, and he's not being pressured. So again, it's just in 7-on-7 type drills and pads, so it's fine.
Who is the first rookie quarterback to take a meaningful snap in the NFL season this year? Between Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, Jackson. Am I forgetting anybody, or is that I think that's everyone.
That's actually an interesting question because it sounds like Flacco's going to start.
Right.
Jackson's going to get some playing time. Darnold's holding out.
And by meaningful snap, I mean like
Rosen's not going to start over Bradford.
I don't mean like if they throw out some gadget.
It might be Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think at this point it certainly looks that way as far as that goes. Let's get back into tell you what's going on here in the second round. Okay. So let's talk about what we said week one or League One this year. Somebody is going to take Gronk and Kelsey with their first two picks, and it usually happens on the turn. Tonight it happens. Jen Ryan from Football Diehards takes Gronk and Kelsey back to back.
That's 2 out of the 4 drafts now.
That Gronk and Kelsey have gone to the same owner?
Yes.
Okay.
Not the 12.
I'm trusting you on this one, but in the round
second draft, it was like I think the 10 pick took them both.
Okay. Fair enough.
Possibly 11, but I think it was the 10.
Yeah, so you have Gronk and Kelsey going at the 112 and the 201 there. Is that a strategy? Have you ever tried that before? I mean, you don't play in tight end premium formats, but if you did, would you try that ever? To take the 2 tight ends off the board with your first 2 picks? In a format where you could flex out 2 tight ends?
Maybe in this one, I probably would have gone a little bit differently here myself. But I would have taken one of them. I probably would not have taken both. It's a little bit too. It's too tough because then you're behind the 8 ball for both running back and receiver. Then I mean, granted, your tight ends are fantastic. Your first flex is great, but it gets tough. Henry
Muto chiming in. It was the 8th pick where Gronk and Kelsey went.
Oh, there you go. Thanks, Henry.
With the first and second round pick there. So there you have it. And for anybody who is looking for the old, looking for the past draft boards, you can check any of the social media accounts that we have, FFPC, High Stakes Fantasy Football, or my own, or the FFPC message boards, or get on over to FantasyMojo.com, and all the draft boards are listed there as well. Odell Beckham, the 202 selection by Hacker and Stefan tonight, and then right after him, it's Leonard Fournette to Bob Lung at the 203. We were talking about this guy quite a bit on Friday, really all last week in the Pros vs. Joe's drafts, ever since we found out that Ron Rivera thought that he had a demigod in his backfield and can withstand any pounding, even if it's just shy of 500 touches this season. But it's Christian McCaffrey sneaking all the way up to the 204 tonight, Dave.
I knew he was going to move up. He's going to be a turn pick by the time we have FFPC drafts.
Right, and far be it for me not to say who sets the ADP in the FFPC. It is, of course, Genesis and Revelations. And we broadcast those drafts live here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. This was in mid-May, and both drafts. The 112 pick Christian McCaffrey.
It wasn't Ron Meyer?
Ron Meyer took Christian McCaffrey at the 112, and I can't remember who was in Genesis who took him there, but I know he went at the 112 in both spots. So it's weird that he's been going in the mid to late second in all these drafts, and now he's climbing back up there again.
Yep.
Yeah.
River Oak Ron, 480 touches.
Exactly, yes. And let me tell you what, Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon, who took McCaffrey tonight, they would love them some 480 touches for McCaffrey this year. Because they know it's not a dynasty league. Break them down if you don't own them dynasty. If you get them in this redraft format, certainly there is a lot of potential for him to be a league winner. Starting off receiver tonight, the only team in the league to start off receiver is Melio and Lee from Football Guys. Hopkins was their first-round pick. They take Keenan Allen at the 205. Devontae Freeman goes off the board to Young and Moss at the 206 to pair with Saquon Barkley. Dalvin Cook, the selection right after that, to Mike Visconti.
That's a move up for Cook.
Fantasy Sports Central. Really? I feel like he's been going at like the turn. Like the 1-2 turn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, my fault on that. I heard good camp reports on him. He looks even better than last year.
Yes.
Coming off the ACL.
They put in a cyborg ACL into Dalvin Cook's knee, and he is better than ever.
And then they found Adrian Peterson's trainer.
The Vikings surgeon had him on the table last year. He kind of looked around the room and said, "Gentlemen, we can rebuild him." And rebuild him they did. He's better than ever. Dalvin Cook has an ADP in FFPC best ball of 202.
All right,
he has gone as late as the 208, though, in that format. I should bring up the FFPC pros versus Joe's ADP. I just feel like it's such a small sample size. I don't discuss it a whole lot.
I wouldn't.
Okay, then I won't. You heard it from the Dizzle.
Well, I mean, 3 drafts. I mean, it doesn't look good.
Jarek McKinnon is the second receiver for Jay Reed and Scott Connor here at the 207 tonight. Running back, excuse me. Zach Ertz, the number 3 tight end off the board. He goes to Darren Armani. Darren Armani knows how your bread is buttered in this format, and it's with tight ends, and he grabs Ertz. Not that that's a reach. That's about where Ertz has been going.
It's a good pick when someone's already taken 2 tight ends.
Yep. And you have Julio Jones going to the Dodgers there at the 210. Devontae Adams and A.J. Green are the 2 receivers to close out the second round. Adams to Patrick and McDowell, and then Green to Miley and Grabanowski to finish round 2. So you have 3 teams start off running back. You have 1 team start off tight end, and you have 1 team start off receiver. We know that the cookie cutter analysis, not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying that it's pretty common knowledge now at this part of fantasy analysis in best ball competitions, especially the 28 rounds that we see at the FFPC, is to load up on these high touch running backs early and maybe cobble together your receiver core after that. Dave, would you ever go with maybe sort of a 0 RB in this format at all and start off with maybe a tight end and 4 receivers, or 2 tight ends and 3 receivers, and ignore running back, and then see what you can put together starting in round 6? Or is that a path that the Dizzle would not have the hiking shoes to venture down?
Certain years I would. I don't think I would this year. I like the running backs in rounds 1 and 2 to the extent that I can't see passing on running back in the first 4 or 5 picks. So that gets rid of those first 4 or 5 picks. And then the running backs available in the second round, if you don't like, let's say, Melvin Gordon, which I'm not a huge fan of Melvin Gordon, and I'm not a huge fan of Devontae Freeman, but I can grab like McCaffrey, Cook, Kareem Hunt, Fournette, Barkley, early on. So I just don't think I'm doing that, because there's running backs I like later, but not to the level of these guys. These guys are really they're the elite ones. They're the ones you really want to have 300 touch people.
I think I heard you correctly. You said you're not a fan of Melvin Gordon or Devontae Freeman, right?
I am personally not in the spots that we take.
Okay, and but you did lump Fournette in with Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, as you like his value right now where he's going.
Well, I don't like him in the first round, I guess, but if in the second round I can take a look at him a little bit more.
Right.
I'm scared about his receiving potential, but I really feel the defense is great. I think Bortles is actually improving. So
yeah.
I think Fournette, he could be a double-digit touchdown back, and if he gets those 30 catches, he should be fine.
One of the comments we're just getting in the chat room as we kind of look back on what happened in the second round, Henry Muto wants to know, Julio at 22, WTF. That is a little weird. Julio Jones falling all the way tonight to the 210. David, in FFPC best ball format, his ADP is 203. I was just I'm in a slow draft. I actually just took Julio Jones at the 202, So this has me, it's giving me a little bit of pause as well. Why do you think Julio Jones fell tonight? I mean, you would have taken him before the 210 had you been drafting here.
Yeah, I probably would have. There's a few players I would let go past him. Julio doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. He just is not that. He just doesn't.
That's true.
We harp on it all the time, but it's not. It hasn't not. It still happens. I mean, he just doesn't score touchdowns.
Right. Now, if you look at Julio Jones, Dave, and now would you say that, I'm going to try to frame this argument for me to look good. Which,
also, while you're thinking that up,
yeah.
He also has a propensity to get injured at key times, like the playoffs.
Yeah. Julio Jones, over the last year he only had 3 touchdowns. 2013.
3?
3 touchdowns.
How many catches?
88. Dave, over the last 4 years, Julio Jones has never had fewer than 83 catches. He has never had fewer than 1,400 yards. Now, if you're telling me I can lock...
He's never had more than how many touchdowns?
What do you think's the highest he had in the last 4 years for touchdowns?
6?
8.
Oh, yeah, 8.
He had 2 seasons of 6, one with 8. He has had, as far as I can tell, 1 double-digit touchdown season in his career. In 2012 with the Falcons, he had 10 of them. I'm going to say this. I'd like to think, first of all, did you know Julio Jones' real first name is Quintoris?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I'm just finding this out. Thank you, Wikipedia. Why would you go by Julio? I would much rather go by Quintoris Jones. Quintoris is such a fantastic name.
It is a pretty awesome name.
Yeah. We say that touchdowns are hit or miss. Now, obviously, for whatever reason with Julio, they've definitely been more miss than hit. But if you're telling me I can utilize an early or a mid-second round pick on a guy who is, according to the last 4 years of his career, and by the way, he's still 29 years old, has not turned 30 yet, and he's booked 80 catches and 1,400 yards every single year, including a 136-catch season in 2015 with 1,871 yards. That is a high ceiling, my friend. And I don't know, man.
No, it is. It makes sense.
I'm kind of throwing the touchdown angle out with Julio Jones right now, and I'm just
Well, he still scores points regardless of
right.
He just doesn't score the touchdowns. But I mean, it's concerning. He's also a big wide receiver, and he's getting older. So those types of guys tend to break down a little bit more. Like Calvin Johnson left the league early. I just look at Julio, and for some reason, I just consider him to be different than like Demaryius Thomas or Fitzgerald. Both are bigger receivers.
Right.
But I just feel like those guys are sturdier. It's not like Julio always has these soft tissue injuries.
Well, and Thomas has had soft tissue injuries too, but it seems like he
always has played.
Yeah, he's played through them.
I don't think he's missed a game I'm going to look.
I'll say this.
We'll talk about Thomas at some point.
No, we can talk about him right now. I will say this about Demaryius Thomas. I drafted him as a rookie in a dynasty league in a rookie draft, and I remember him having a real rough rookie season. Like it
was barely used.
He had a lower leg issue, and it was just I was like, this is a bust of a pick. And then he really turned it on after that. But it does seem like maybe you don't get the ceiling with Demaryius Thomas, but Farrell Elliott from the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I thought he invented this. I've heard it in other places, so now I'm not sure if he did. Not that he ever said that he invented it. Most important ability in the NFL is availability, and Julio Jones certainly been lacking in that department, especially when it comes to be playoff time and the 3-week sprint time with Jones over the past year is certainly frustrating for his owners. What can you tell me about Demaryius Thomas?
He has not missed a game since 2011.
Wow.
So 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17, he's played all 16 games. He's played and started all 16 games.
That's pretty good.
It's huge. It's huge for a wide receiver. It really is.
Speaking of wide receivers, there's a bunch of them going off the board here. In the
I saw that someone made a really smart pick of picking one player over another, as we're about to find out.
Oh, we'll get into that in a little bit. I'm just seeing that now. Fantastic. So Doug Baldwin is the first pick of the third round. Sort of this year's T.Y. Hilton always seems to be going on at that 2-3 turn day.
There you go.
Right after that, last year's T.Y. Hilton. It's this year's it's T.Y. Hilton this year. If that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. T.Y. Hilton going off the board to Patrick and McDowell from Dynasty Command Center at the 302. We had a wager made on this show. I don't know what it was, maybe a month ago, roughly.
Yeah, something like that.
We actually talked with Evan Silva on Friday night about this, and it's who's going to score more points this year? Is it Mike Evans or is it Larry Fitzgerald? Now, I took Evans, and you took Fitzgerald. Now, might have been a bone that you tossed me there because Mike Evans, and this is what FFPC drafters are doing.
I was fully aware of the ADP.
Right, yeah, it's not like it snuck up on you. Mike Evans going at the 302 in drafts. Larry Fitzgerald not being selected. Well, Dave, he is up to the 312 right now. So
that is a move up. He was going in the fourth.
Solidly in the mid to late fourth. We saw a lot of that, and now he's moving up.
The wager is moving him up.
It's the power of the Dizzle, I think.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But my whole point of making the wager was just that Fitz did outscore Evans by about 60 points last year, and that the two players, I'd say that the odds of Evans outscoring Fitzgerald are maybe like 55%. So I actually felt pretty solid about taking that wager.
And you know, it's. I mean, I didn't feel great about it. I felt good enough about it to make the wager.
Sure.
And I still think that Evans comes out on top. But this is the first time that we're seeing Mike Evans actually not being drafted ahead of Larry Fitzgerald, at least that I can remember, certainly in the pros versus Joes. Larry Fitzgerald goes to Casey and Christian Dodge at the 303, and then Darren Armani gobbles up Mike Evans as his number one receiver at the 304. Starting off with running back is Jay Reed and Scott Connor as they go Kamara, McKinnon, and now in the third round, Joe Mixon. Pretty good value for Mixon there, Dave. I know you and I, neither of us like him this year. Somehow we ended up both on our Scott Fishbowl teams, which I still don't understand.
Yeah, me either.
But Mixon at the 305, I can get behind that.
Yeah, general.
I mean, you look at the running backs going after him. I think he might be my favorite out of them. Now, the question is, do you want to soak a mid-third round pick in there when you get some of the other running backs you can get in the fourth and fifth?
Yeah, I would have probably grabbed a receiver there and got it back in the fourth, given that they already have Kamara and McKinnon. But that's all right. I mean, Mixon could be good. He didn't, low yards per carry last year. Still steal with Gio as a third down back. I don't know that he's as talented as people make him out to be. So that's just my thing.
Did lose weight though.
Well,
that's good.
Yeah.
Usually.
Oftentimes is good.
Yeah, oftentimes is good. I'm hoping he has like some sort of Le'Veon Bell kind of reaction, or Le'Veon Bell results from losing the weight. I don't think.
Do you have him in Dynasty in like 5 leagues, or why do you like?
No. I mean, I in Scott Fishbowl. I'd like to do well in that league.
So you're.
Well, I mean, what's wrong with wanting my Scott Fishbowl guy to do good?
Because it's a league that doesn't really pay you anything.
Well,
but if you don't own Mixon in all these other leagues and he has a good season, it's going to hurt you in all the other teams.
That's fine, but bear in mind that I have not done a ton of leagues yet this year. So that's.
I guess we'll see what happens. But to me, it just seems like to root for a certain player just because you own him in the Scott Fishbowl thing is.
Trying to think.
Maybe what we would call in the rap world is whack.
Yeah, well, maybe it's whack. I might have him in a couple of dynasty spots now that I think about it.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Right.
We'll see.
Moving on.
Adam Thielen, the second receiver to Mike Visconti. He takes him at the 306. Another team, the second team to start off running back. It's Eric Young and Keno Moss. They get Sony Michel at the 307. A little bit early for Sony Michel there.
Yeah, they're big fans.
Yeah, apparently. I seem to remember Keno Moss talking about that on the show, that he likes Sony Michel. I could be wrong.
Michel had a fumble the other day.
He did.
And he had to take a lap.
Had to take a lap. Back to high school when you're taking a lap for.
Hopefully he's walking around class with the football in his arm.
Yeah. Who was that? That was Omar, the guy in the program.
Omar Epps.
Omar Epps. Yeah. When he fumbled in practice and remember he had the class and then the football players are in his class and then they're trying to knock it out of his hands and the professor is losing it. That was
actually pretty funny.
That was a good movie. Tyreek Hill right after to Sony Michel, Tyreek Hill to Emilio and Lee from Football Guys. Golden Tate, the number one receiver, drafted by Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon. And then you have Jordan Howard pairing with Leonard Fournette. Bob Lung gets his top two running backs in round 2 and 3 tonight, Fournette and Jordan Howard. Amari Cooper off the board at the 311 tonight. I got to look that up. That's Hacker and Steffen taking Amari Cooper at the 311.
And then Jen Ryan is going.
Hold on. I want to get to that in a second. Amari Cooper's ADP at 403, so I guess it's a little bit early, but still right around there. Yeah. So talk about Jen Ryan, what she did here at the 312, Dave.
She took her third tight end, so she's going for the title of the most hated player in all of Pros versus Joes. The player that is screwing over the other 10 people, not 11, because Fantasy Mojo already has Zach Ertz. But now, the desperation should start setting in, folks. You better get your tight ends. By the way, Jimmy Graham goes earlier than the 312, so she actually picked out some value, didn't she?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Jimmy Graham in FFPC best balls right now normally goes at the 404, so it's not a ton.
See, I'm off on my ADP.
Yeah, it's not a ton of value. I will say what's amazing about you is how you can remember exactly where all these guys are getting picked in previous Pros versus Joe's draft. Only you and Henry Muto apparently can pull that out.
Muto's better than me.
I am lost on that. So here's my philosophy on what happened with Jen Ryan here. She's like, okay, I'm going to force the issue here at tight ends, and all you guys are going to gobble up the tight ends because I'm going to take Gronk and Kelsey. And then Darren Armani takes Zach Ertz. Crickets in the purple stickers for tight end. Nobody else goes. So she says, you know what? Screw you. Jimmy Graham, he's mine. Now I got 3 tight ends. Only one other team in the whole damn league has 1 tight end. You guys are going to be scraping at the bottom of the barrel here. So
there's no waivers, gentlemen.
Yeah, no waivers.
I don't say add Lady because she doesn't have to worry about it,
right.
Gentlemen.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, this is compelling stuff. We haven't seen this. I remember Craig Campbell, of course, from the KFFSC, longtime FFPC player as well. He started off his pros versus Joe's draft with 3 straight tight ends one year. So we'll see how it turns out for Jen Ryan. We'll get to the 4th round analysis in just a little bit, but I do want to hit the phone lines here and go to the 310. 310, you are on the air with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Who are we talking to?
Gentlemen, how you doing? It's Zach Jaros again.
Yes, Zach. Okay, so Zach, you obviously, you and Shane Gray had a very good season in pros versus Joe's last year. We already heard you last Sunday night give your analysis. Talk about what you're seeing here tonight.
Well, I had to call in because I kind of feel like this was my league. Last year in pros versus Joe's, it was Jen, it was Alex, and the football guys there, and I think Sig was in it in the 12 spot. And he went tight end too. But not only do I love calling you guys because it's like football season, and what's better on a Sunday night than to talk to you, but I also felt like these were my people, so I had to say hello.
Yeah, well, listen, we appreciate it. Obviously, it goes without saying, but this is going to be a compelling draft. Have you've drafted in a lot of high stakes leagues in the FFPC as well. How is it? Do you remember a team starting off with 3 straight tight ends where it actually turned out like, oh man, why didn't I do that? They ended up crushing it, running away with it. Do you remember where that's happened before? It seems to me when I've seen it done, that team has not had the success that maybe they had hoped for.
Look, I think you're 100% right. I think that and it's something I've been working on a little bit this year in some of the best balls I've been doing on the FFPC. I think in the best balls you can do it because in the best balls you can go and lock up 2 flexes really early, knowing that all you got to do is grab 2 running backs and two wide receivers that later on in the draft you can get some points from because it's best ball. I think you can get away with it. But the thing is in the main event in the real leagues where you got to pick a starting roster every week, you really want to be picking 2 guys between Theo Riddick, Gio Bernard, James White, and, I don't know, LeGarrette Blount. You want to be picking 2 of those every week. So I don't think you can do it, but I absolutely believe it has a place in best ball. And I like what Jen is doing. The only thing I would say is that if I did start with 3 tight ends, I would have wanted a little bit more secure running back to be a running back anchor than a rookie. And look, he's looked great in camp. Everybody's happy. I know it all looks good, but I might have tried to grab somebody that I felt like I can hang my hat on a little bit more.
If you started off, I mean, because you're talking about the positives of going with 3 straight tight ends to start off a draft. If you did it in a best ball format, Zach, would you take another tight end the rest of the way, or would you just roll with those 3?
No, I'd grab another one late, but when I say late, I mean late. And by late, I'm talking Jonnu Smith. I'm talking Adam Shaheen, if, Burton doesn't work out in Chicago, Jordan Leggett from the Jets. I'd probably waste a stab, but I think you know that you got a great tight end. You know that you got 2 great flexes, but you really, really need to make sure you can have 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers that can start every week. So I eat up all the meat of my draft at those positions.
Zach, you are too kind to call in again on the show. We really appreciate it. We're going to see you in Vegas shortly, and good luck in all your drafts that you have coming up. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Hey, I'd love to hear it. And say one last thing. The other reason I had to call in was the earlier Jet fan that called in. As a Jet fan myself, I felt like I needed to not only join the bandwagon, but try to maybe bring something a little bit more to the table other than what Sam Darnold's doing, and I'd like to see his ass get into camp in the meantime.
Yes, for sure. Jets fans everywhere waiting to see that, and well, I'd like to see it happen as well. Dave, he's on my Scott Fishbowl team as well, so I want to see Sam Darnold do very well this year. Zach, thanks for the call, man. We'll talk again. We'll talk again in Vegas for sure.
You guys are the best. See you there.
Zach Jaros from the Boobs Love 'Em franchise, former league champs of the Pros vs. Joes. Actually won the Pros vs. Joes overall before, too, so always great to hear from him. From the 310 to the 610, I believe we are going to go east for this phone call. Who are we talking to?
Darren Armani, how you guys doing?
Darren, man, what's up? This is so. To explain this, first of all, you normally draft in the 6th draft tonight. Was there just such a demand for the last Pros vs. Joes that you ended up going into the 4th one tonight?
They've been pretty reliable the past few years, so I figured I could back off of that. So, but we'll keep an eye on them on Monday and Tuesday in case anybody looks like they're not going to show up. I'll get on them, so I'm not as worried as I used to be.
Yeah, and listen, your pro contacts are just coming out of the yin-yang, so I'm sure you can reach deep into your phone contacts and find somebody that would love to jump at this competition. Let's talk about your draft a little bit. Ezekiel Elliott at the 104. Were you surprised when you took, after Jen Ryan started off tight end, were you surprised that you were the only person to take a tight end after that up until she took Jimmy Graham again in the 3rd round? That to me stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, you figure somebody would have grabbed one, but people have their game plans, and I guess they're sticking to them. I was kind of on the fence with when Julio got down to me. I hadn't expected to see him there. I planned to take McCaffrey if he would have gotten there. Otherwise, I was going to go with Ertz because I kind of have a plan here I want to try and stick with, but I was on the fence about taking Julio. But ultimately, I think I'm happier with Ertz and Mike Evans than I would have been with Julio and, say, Joe Mixon, because I'm not really a Joe Mixon fan either. So I think it worked out for me.
Darren, most important question we're going to ask you all night. Had Larry Fitzgerald been there at the 304 for you, who would you have taken, Evans or Fitzgerald? Would you have stuck with Evans or would you have gone Fitz?
Nah, I would have taken Evans. Fitzgerald is, I don't know.
No. Darren's bringing the real tonight. I appreciate it. That's fantastic. Why did it? So
I would have done the same thing.
Hold on. So you would have taken Evans over Fitz?
Yes, at that spot, yes. Because there's a chance that Fitz comes back.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't know if you listen to Evan Silva when we were talking about.
Right. No, but I'll say this about, because I think Evan said it was like a 15 to 20% chance he thought that Fitz.
Not as much anymore.
Yeah, the percentage chance is going down. So at what point does it get so low that you're like, okay, I'm grabbing?
Like I kind of said, I have Evans at about a 55% chance to win that. So I'm not making any bets. I'm replacing I'm not having fun on a podcast.
That's right, exactly. Lamar Miller, your 4th round pick, and then you are the 3rd team to draft 2 tight ends tonight as you get maybe my favorite tight end this year in drafts, Kyle Rudolph at the 504. Were you, Darren, when you were coming, obviously you've done the Pros vs. Joes a bunch of times. When you're coming into this, was it kind of set in your mind that you wanted to get to, quote-unquote elite tight ends early and make sure that you could fill in running backs and receivers as the draft went on because you had that comfort of knowing you had those 2 tight ends? Or was this a reaction to what Jen Ryan was doing at the 12 spot?
No, it wasn't so much what Jen did. I was thinking maybe take another running back there, but the guys after Miller snagged a couple of the guys I was looking at, so I did a quick look in what Rudolph would give me versus what Ingram or Ajayi were kind of the other ones I was looking at. I decided to just go with Rudolph, and I should be good with tight end from here on out. But yeah, I'm surprised Jen got 3 to start. So that's kind of a boom or bust move. Personally, I kind of like having Ertz than Gronkowski or Kelsey this year. Not that I would draft him ahead of them, but I feel a lot more confident with Ertz and what he's going to give me versus Gronk's. He's volatile. He's inconsistent sometimes. And Kelsey, I just don't trust Andy Reid to utilize that weapon to its fullest. Andy thinks he's the smartest guy on the field, and he's going to show you how football's done. So I'm a little more comfortable with Ertz.
What about Dallas Goedert? You don't think he's coming in taking his job or anything like that, taking away a bunch of targets?
No, I'm not too worried about Goddard. Maybe down the line.
He's from one of the Dakota states. He's from some Dakota.
South Dakota
State, Tech, or whatever.
South Dakota State, I think.
Yeah. Right. See. That's a good school.
Yeah, it is a very good school. Darren, listen, for anybody who's not familiar with Fantasy Mojo, and God, I hope that if you're listening to the show, you're familiar with Fantasy Mojo at this point. For anybody who's not, tell the listeners what you have there, especially for FFPC players, for the tools that they can utilize.
Right. So it's your one-stop shop for everything FFPC. We've got ADP sliced and diced, for Dynasty, Superflex, Best Ball, Classic format. We've got the draft boards every day, every morning. The draft boards from the previous night's drafts are up, so especially this time of year when training camp hits and news changes and changes the values of players. You can go on there and see, what happened, how does it affect them. Then we've got articles on there about roster construction in the FFPC format, and we map that back to the winning rosters from last year. So there's some in-depth roster construction analysis you can check out. And, of course, during the year, we're going to have the waiver wires as soon as they hit, and people can see who, people are went after on a given night. And we've got the FFPC history. We've got the whole archives of the leagues back to 2010, I think. So if you want to, dive back that deep, we've got that as well.
Now, listen, I know there's FFPC players who want to do that for sure, so definitely check out FantasyMojo.com. We follow you on Twitter at FantasyMojo. You always have a great feed of some awesome nuggets throughout the drafting season, as well as once the season starts with all the waiver bids and everything like that, too. I always appreciate seeing what happened Thursday morning when I check your Twitter feed. There's always some interesting stuff on there. I'm going to let you get back to your draft here, Darren. Thanks so much, not only for calling in, but that this competition really exists because of the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into this. So I really appreciate you doing this again this year. It's wonderful. We love doing the shows for it, for sure. It's always a blast, man. Thanks so much.
Hey, no problem, guys. I'll see you out in Vegas this year.
That sounds great. Darren Armani, Mr. Fantasy Mojo. Follow him on Twitter at Fantasy Mojo, drafting from the 4th spot tonight. Of course, correctly drafting Mike Evans instead of Larry Fitzgerald, which I think is the big takeaway from this interview tonight. Let's get back into the 4th round now, where we left off at the 312. Jimmy Graham had just gone to Jen Ryan as her 3rd straight tight end drafted. As I take you back to the 4th round, she goes with rookie Darius Geis from Washington as her number 1 running back. Juju Smith-Schuster is the 3rd receiver drafted by Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen there at the 402. Stephon Diggs and Demaryius Thomas, another receiver, a couple of receivers right after that. Diggs to Lung, Demaryius Thomas to Quintana and Mormon. Then you have a couple of running backs. LaShawn McCoy is the 1st running back drafted by Emilio and Lee there at the 405. Deion Lewis, the 4th straight running back drafted by Eric Young and Keno Moss. So they go Barkley, Freeman, Michelle, and Lewis. They start off with 4 straight running backs, and I'd like to say they were the only team who did it, but they weren't. There's another one coming up, spoiler alert. So you have, after Deion Lewis, it's Evan Engram to Mike Visconti is his number 1 tight end. Derrick Henry is the 4th straight running back drafted by Jay Reed and Scott Connor. You have Henry going with Kamara, McKinnon, and Mixon there. Lamar Miller right after that to Fantasy Mojo's Darren Armani. Rashad Penny at the 410, followed by Kenyon Drake at the 411. Seems a little bit late for Drake. Delaney Walker ending things with Miley and Grabanowski. Delaney Walker going at the 412. I'm just looking at this right now, Dave, as far as where Kenyon Drake normally goes in these FFPC best balls. He normally goes at the 311. He falls tonight to the 411. Apparently, Kalen Ballage showed something in training camp that was publicized on Twitter to get Kenyon Drake to fall a full round tonight. What do you make of that?
It's great value. I love it.
Yeah, I'd be all over Kenyon Drake there for sure. I actually just took him at the 312 in the draft that I'm doing right now, slow draft. I took Drake there, so I think that's great value there as well. Delaney Walker, of course, the other thing I want to mention, now we have 6 tight ends off the board through 4 rounds. Walker is Miley and Grabanowski's first tight end drafted. Let's go back to the phone lines. We're going to head over to the 330. You are on the air with the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hours, Balky and Dave. To whom are we speaking?
This is Bob Lung from Big Guy Fantasy Sports. How's it going, gentlemen?
Bob Lung, a longtime Pros versus Joe's veteran, and first of all, thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it. You are drafting from the 10th spot tonight. You are 6 rounds in. Is this the team you envisioned? Has it been going according to plan?
No, they never do. No. So, yeah, I was sitting at number 10 going, okay, I just want one of these 4 guys, and they all 4 were gone. But I have no problem taking Michael Thomas there. I mean, as you guys know, it's all about consistency for me. And, Michael Thomas, 88% consistent last year, and that's why I took him that high. I want consistency and want somebody I can count on week after week when it gets to this spot. And that's who I went with, and I was hoping to get a good running back. I didn't expect Fournette to fall there, but I was very happy he did, and I liked the value I got there. So it's always a good start for me if I can get one of each of some good, strong, consistent players around 1 and 2, and then I've come back with Howard, Diggs, Doyle, and Watson, and so yeah, I actually feel pretty good. I didn't start that way, but things are falling a little bit more into place now.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, obviously a model of consistency as far as what he's done in the NFL thus far in his career. You kind of know what you're getting with him. And maybe with the Matt Nagy running things, maybe even get a little bit more from him this year. That remains to be seen. You get him at the end of the 3rd round. Diggs, obviously a good breakout candidate. Let's talk about that Watson pick in the 5th round. Had you planned on taking a quarterback there, or did the fact that Aaron Rodgers went off the board 1 pick before you think, maybe I want to get a quarterback here before they start going crazy in the 6th round down?
Yes and no. So, yeah, I was sitting there thinking, okay, this is the round. I'm probably going to go tight end quarterback. But obviously I was kind of waiting for the Rodgers pick to drop before I was going to do that. So I wasn't going to pick Watson there. But then when Rodgers went, I said, I don't even know. With Jen picking, she's been scaring me tonight. I didn't know she might go quarterback there on me, and then I would really be stuck. So I decided to take Watson there and then come back, and I was happy to get Doyle because I felt like he was the last strong, tight end from last year who had strong consistency and points, fantasy points in total. I think he will continue to be a favorite even with luck this year. So it worked out. I didn't expect it to flip that way, but it worked out.
Hey, Bob, are you worried at all about Eric Stonehands Ebron at all? If you ever watch Game of Thrones, there's this guy who's like turning to stone in the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I always think of Ebron, like the guy who's turning to stone. He's got the stone hands. You worried about him at all?
No, I didn't worry about him when he was in Detroit as a starter. I don't think I ever once in my lifetime was at a point where it's either slit my wrist or pick Ebron. I probably would have got the razor out. I couldn't have done it. There's no way. His inconsistency was just putrid.
Let me ask you this, actually. This is actually kind of going in a whole different direction, but it's also another rip on Ebron. So they let Ebron go, the Lions did, then picked up Luke Wilson as a free agent. Do you have any interest, and maybe I shouldn't ask you this in round 6 of this draft, but Luke Wilson's out there, so the team made a conscious choice to let Ebron go. And then, I'm sure they didn't pay Luke Wilson all that much money, but now they're just going into the season with Luke Wilson, a guy who had showed some potential with Seattle as a tight end. What do you think of him?
I think it's a great pick because it just means that Golden Tate and all those guys are going to be that much better. Stafford will still have those guys to throw to, and Theo Riddick, and so leaves the core alone. So basically they dumped garbage and replaced garbage. So that's fine.
Exactly. Bob, listen, first of all, thanks for calling in. We of course follow you on Twitter at Bob_Lung. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Big Guy Fantasy Sports.
Well, Big Guy Fantasy Sports is your one, basically your stop for everything fantasy football consistency. You can get the 2018 Fantasy Football Consistency Guide there. You can also get it on Amazon, of course, if you want the printed copy, but you can put in the scoring method. So if you're in FFPC type league, put in your scoring method into there, and you can see who the most consistent players were in that scoring method to help you with those kind of drafts. I used it tonight for the 1.5 points for tight ends, so I could kind of get a feel for that. That was very helpful. And, you get all the articles, the guide, the updates, the tier draft list. It's all there for you. And just want to share the knowledge of consistency that I've put together for the last 16 years. And help people add that to their draft arsenal.
Bob, of course, 2017 Fantasy Sports Writers Association finalist for Best Fantasy Football Publication was Big Guy Fantasy Sports, so certainly you're doing great work there, and everybody needs to give you a follow on Twitter. Your draft speaks for itself. It is definitely a contender thus far tonight. I'm glad to see, no surprise that it did not go according to plan, but you're still making it work. Thanks so much for calling in tonight. Good luck the rest of the way, buddy.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bob Lung from Big Guy Fantasy Sports giving us a buzz tonight. I always appreciate hearing from that guy. So that was through 4 rounds, I think, and we're falling behind a little bit. Let's take you a whirlwind 5th round analysis here as we go. Greg Olsen at the 501. This is the second tight end drafted by Miley and Grebanowski there. They go back-to-back, Walker and Olsen. Alex Collins at the 502. To Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell from Dynasty Command Center. That is their 3rd running back drafted. The 3rd running back drafted right after him for the Dodgers, Royce Freeman off the board at the 503. Then we get a couple of tight ends. Kyle Rudolph to Fantasy Mojo, who you already heard on these airways. Jordan Reed, the number 1 tight end drafted by Jay Reed and Scott Connor right after that. You have the FFPC Joes going with Jordan Reed. Mark Ingram, the 2nd running back drafted by Mike Piscani. George Kittle off the board to Eric Young and Keno Moss. Jay Ajayi, the 2nd running back selected here tonight at the 508 by Emilio and Lee from FootballGuys.com. Pair of quarterbacks that go right after that we talked about with Bob Lung. Quintana and Mormon cracked the quarterbacks open tonight with Aaron Rodgers. Sean Watson at the 510 right after him to Bob Lung. Brandon Cooks at the 511. And Allen Robinson is the 512 selection tonight. So we are through 6 rounds of action. I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about the tight ends that went off the board here in this round. You have Greg Olsen, Kyle Rudolph, Jordan Reed, George Kittle. I don't think any of those are necessarily reaches. And as far as everybody, it's almost like, what was that movie with Matt Damon, The Informant, where all the price fixers got together to set the price of orange juice or I can't remember the chemical or whatever.
I always saw
lysine, I think it was. And they all got together. It was almost that the other 11 owners got together and like, all right, guys, we're not going to play. We're not going to take tight ends. We're not going to play Jen Ryan's game here. We're all going to wait. And certainly now we're seeing the tight ends fly off the board.
They're playing they have played pretty nice.
4 tight ends off the board in round 5 alone. If you look at the total number, I believe that brings us to 10 tight ends off the board through 5 rounds, which to me, Dave, I think seems about right as far as how these drafts have been going and as far as FFPC best balls. I mean, Kittle...
Even a little light, actually. I feel like they're getting drafted not as deeply as they were like in the 2nd draft.
I mean, if you look at it, like Kittle and Doyle are normally going in the 7th round, but there's a tight end that still hasn't been selected that normally goes in the 6th. Other than that, I mean, everybody else is going in like the 5th or 6th round. So, that's how it's been going so far. There was one thing I wanted to bring up with that Bob Lung interview, and before it gets forgotten. Sir Jorah Mormont is turning into a stone man, although he may have been cured. Yeah, he may have been cured. Spoiler alert, in the last season by the Meister, and Jon Snow's buddy, the round guy. I can't think of what his name is. I don't know any of the characters' names from Game of Thrones.
That's good, because people who do are pathetic.
Well, they're not pathetic. I mean, we probably
right. They're worse than pathetic.
I know Henry Muto is a big
Henry.
Game of Thrones
But if you know
fan.
all the people, I mean, that's pretty nice.
Nobody knows all the people, but I mean, like, I figure I should know him because he's been, both these guys, Mormont and Jon Snow's friend, they've been big key players in this. And, it's like not knowing a 10th round pick in FFPC best ball. You should know it, and that's just my opinion. Let's get into the 6th round here, Dave. Where only 2 tight ends went off the board. Kicking things off at the 601 was Marshawn Lynch to Jen Ryan as her number 2 running back. Ronald Jones, the 2nd running back selected by the Joes there, Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen. Jack Doyle, of course, to Bob Lung. Cam Newton, this is an interesting selection. What do you make of this pick, Dave? You have Cam Newton going off the board at the 604 to Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon when they already had Aaron Rodgers. So they take back-to-back quarterbacks in the 5th and 6th round. Certainly not a route that you would have gone. And they also did not take a tight end early, so I guess that's a feather in their cap. But a little bit of a peculiar selection there to go with 2 quarterbacks back-to-back. I did not see the Cam Newton pick coming. Trey Burton off the board to Emilio and Lee from footballguys.com as their number 1 tight end. That was the guy who normally goes in the 6th round. They get some, not much value. He normally goes with the 608. They get him at 605. But given how the tight ends have been being pushed up the board tonight, not a surprise that he goes where he goes tonight. I think that in and of itself makes a good value. Julian Edelman to Young and Moss as their number 1 receiver after they started off with 4 straight running backs and tight ends. So they go 0 WR tonight, Dave. We have not seen that done in this format in a while. Well, no, I mean, it doesn't normally happen in this format, and tonight it happened. So congratulations to them. Russell Wilson, the 3rd quarterback off the board. Wilson going to Mike Visconti from Fantasy Sports Central. Josh Gordon off the board in the 6th round as the number 1 receiver by Jay Reed and Scott Connor. Now, you've been saying 4th round too early for Josh Gordon.
That's right. I've been saying 6th round.
6th round. So you're on board with this pick here.
Yeah, they're catching up to what we're talking about, Bulky. We were talking about that last week. But I think you should get a 2-round penalty for not showing up for training camp, whether he's afraid of hard knocks or he's just not sure what's going on. He's a little. We were talking about this off air. We just think that he's a little bit of an apprehensive person, kind of like Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle took some time off from comedy. He loves being in front of audiences. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he likes the spotlight, and Gordon may not either. So I have questions about whether or not he's ever going to make it back. I still do, and I'm shopping him in Dynasty, and it's weird because I did a Twitter poll, and half the people said that he's worth the 1st-round pick. So I offered him for 2019 first in 2 Dynasty leagues, 22 offers, 0 acceptances. Mm-hmm. I got a couple counters for seconds or like a second in Keelan Cole. So that's where I'm at right now with Gordon. I'm trying to decide whether he's worth a second, and I'm going to get something out of nothing, or just hold on to him and see if he actually amounts anything.
You know what your problem was? You posted this Twitter poll too early.
Many people read it.
Yeah, you posted the Twitter poll too early, and they're like, oh, I'll vote on this. Yeah, 1st rounder. And then they're like, I wonder why the Dizzle posted this. And then they start researching Gordon, like, oh man, he's got some stuff going on here. Yeah, I guess I'll vote for the 1st round, but I actually wouldn't give that up for that.
What I actually did do wrong is I should have said, what would you pay for Josh Gordon? What's his value? Yeah. And that's a whole different story.
That's the endowment effect.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Moving on, but okay, and I'll say this in this format. I say it every show. The winner of this 12-team league will get a free entry into the 2019 FFPC main event. 2nd place does not get anything, nor do the places after that. So it is a pick-to-win format, and maybe Josh Gordon is a pick-to-win pick when you start off with 4 straight running backs and a tight end. So 2 teams, really going 0 WR tonight, and that's what we see with Gordon going to Reed and Connor. Rex Burkhead, right after that, is the number 3 running back selected by Fantasy Mojo's Darren Armani. Tariq Cohen, the 4th running back selected by Casey and Christian Dodge. Chris Hogan, 3rd receiver off the board for Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell. And then completing round 6 is Falcons running back Tevin Coleman as the number 2 running back for Miley and Grebanowski. So, they go tight end in rounds 4 and 5 with Walker and Olsen. There's an iron price to be paid as long as we're talking about Game of Thrones references. And the price is Tevin Coleman being your number 2 running back.
No thanks.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that. However, you can make that less noticeable if you get some pass catching running backs here over the next, let's say, 3 to 4 rounds. You get a couple. Or the next pick. Yeah, I mean you look. I mean all of a sudden it doesn't look that bad as we power through 6 rounds of this Pros versus Joes competition tonight. Reminder: we will have Jason Rock Phelps calling in tonight. We bumped that back about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes past the hour, it's about 12 minutes from now, we'll hear from Jason Rock Phelps about sportsinjurypredictor.com, his draft on Monday night. And as far as Gerzak's concerned, the most important thing, why is he Jason Rock Phelps? As I'm sure
I gotta find out.
That will be dominating.
The coolest middle name in all of fantasy.
Not bad. It's certainly better than my middle name.
He can move on to a different career in the adult entertainment industry if necessary.
Not even adult entertainment, really anything, any industry. I mean, you're going to be intimidated by a guy named Rock.
Exactly. Fred Flintstone's boss, Mr. Slate.
Uh-huh.
That's a cool name. Like he could be like
Flintstone's a cool name.
In the quarry business.
Yeah, he could be, definitely. There's a lot of businesses he could be in.
Construction.
Yep. Curbing, concrete, action movies, apparently.
Yes, right.
The way things have been going, certainly The Rock is going to need somebody to take over that mantle at some point, why not Jason Rock Phelps? You know, you don't have to change any of the designs in Photoshop. You can just leave the rock in there and just add Jason Phelps.
So true.
701, Duke Johnson is what Dave was alluding to there, as he gets a pass-catching running back. The Parrots have Coleman. So Duke Johnson is Miley and Grebanowski's number 3 running back. Marvin Jones, the pick after that, to Patrick and McDowell, as they now have collected 4 receivers through 7 rounds. Kerryon Johnson, I thought he'd be rising up further. He still hasn't. Kerryon Johnson, the 5th running back, so drafted by Casey and Christian Dodge there at the 703. Jarvis Landry off the board to Fantasy Mojo as his number 2 receiver. Sammy Watkins goes to Reed and Connor right after that at the 705 to pair with Josh Gordon. So after starting off their draft with 4 running backs and a tight end, they still are able to trot out Josh Gordon and Sammy Watkins. And say what you will about Gordon and say what you will about Watkins. I'm not huge fans of them this season, but number one, Jay Reed and Scott Connor won a lot more money in high-stakes fantasy football than I have. And I'll say this, as far as those 2 players go, if they're your number 1 and number 2 receivers, when you already have Jordan Reed, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Jerick McKinnon, and Alvin Kamara ahead of them, I'd go to battle with that team. I think they did a nice job of depositing a couple of pretty strong playmakers in their number 1 and 2 receiver slots, Dave.
Well, I mean, they're going for the ultimate risk, ultimate reward type strategy. I mean, their running backs are fantastic, and Gordon, Sammy Watt, and we're not talking about the next guy.
No, not yet.
But I told you I like Sammy Watkins. I think he's a nice value in the 7th round. He's an elite talent. He was drafted at high in the 1st round, like number 10 overall, I believe. So I think he's gonna have a fine season. Actually, I really like Sammy Watkins this year.
Our good friend Rallycap checking in the chat room tonight. He writes, knowing Game of Thrones characters equals dorky. Knowing Flintstones characters equals, and he's got a good point, Dave. I'm not sure what's cooler at this point. It used to be kind of cool to know the cartoon characters of yore, and now it's I don't know how cool that is if it's dorky to know Game of Thrones characters. So
it's dorky either way.
He's putting you on blast, as the kids would say tonight in the chat room.
The Westworld is not dorky.
What, did you see the news that came out? Or that wasn't news. It was just a report about. I think it was. One of the guys who's in charge of HBO Entertainment said that Westworld is clearly not for the casual viewer.
Right.
Like, it's nice to know that, I love the show, but even I'm struggling to understand everything that's going on. It's nice to know that, like, I can be an idiot about it, and it's okay.
Well, you know how, like, you talk about your wife sometimes when she's watching the show, and she's like, so what's going on now? And you'd probably just be like, oh,
yeah.
I'm not going to explain it to you. I barely know myself, right?
I
have no idea if it's the future, the past. God knows, it could be right now. No one knows what's going on.
There have been very few shows that my wife and I have been able to enjoy together, and I think, honestly, the only one that, off the top of my head, that I know that I loved and I think she enjoyed as well has been Breaking Bad. Outside of that,
really?
I don't think there's ever been a show that we were both like, oh, this is great.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. She watched 40 seconds of the season 1 trailer for Westworld and wrote it off.
Really?
Yeah.
My wife and I love Westworld together, but she hated Breaking Bad. She just didn't. She likes to be able to root for somebody.
Right.
So when Walt choked that guy with the bicycle lock, I think that kind of.
He's a bad guy. That guy was a drug dealer.
I agree.
Of course, so was Walt, but whatever.
He just made a couple bad decisions.
He wasn't
a good guy.
He wasn't an endearing character. Neither one of them were. The show was.
Walt, I thought was great. I think he was very endearing.
Especially
your grandma's drug dealers over with those, Aztec was great.
I am not of that opinion that I rooted for Walter White. I won't get into it. I mean, we should have
a podcast about popular culture.
Definitely should not do that. There's plenty of them.
All right, go ahead.
So moving on after the Watkins pick, it's Alshon Jeffrey tonight at the 706 to Mike Visconti. Jameson Crowder right after that to Young and Moss as their number 2 receiver, as they also went 0 WR tonight. They get Julian Edelman and Jameson Crowder. Kind of like you have the upside of what Reed and Connor did with Watkins and Gordon. Guys that I think we can both agree have higher ceilings than Edelman and Crowder. But there's going to be a lot of consistency with Edelman and Crowder. They should get peppered with a lot of targets. Obviously, Edelman needs to come back from the suspension healthy and, performing like how he has been. But there could be a lot of targets. So it's interesting that they both went different directions in order to fill those 1 and 2 receiver spots when they went 0 WR.
I'm kind of down on Edelman now. After talking to Evan Silva.
Evan Silva was not.
I'm down on Edelman. The PED thing matters.
Yeah, and
people don't really discount that much for those 4 games either. I think. I feel like he's not getting discounted enough.
He may not be, and it's not like it's not like Evan Silva had like this personal thing against Edelman. He just pointed out, like, look, if you look at these guys, and by the way, go back and listen to the interview, blogtalkradio.com/HSFF. It's on the on-demand episodes towards the bottom of the page. But you have a history of guys who've been suspended for PEDs just coming back and not performing well. There have been some outliers, but they were outliers. By and large, most of the time, they do not come back with a vengeance.
Did we talk about Alshon Jeffrey being like a 2-round plus value at the 703?
We did not. No, I mean
where's FF calculator has a 503. The 706 is ridiculous. I mean, even with his injury history.
As I scramble for time here, I'll do what the politicians do. Dave, that is an excellent question, and
I'm going to talk to you about that pretty soon.
Yeah, and I'm very glad that you asked that. And first, a little bit of background on Alshon Jeffrey. He
went to South Carolina.
Yeah, he went to South Carolina, which I'm not sure if you're aware. That was an SEC school. SEC, of course, stands for Southeastern Conference.
That's pretty good.
Jeffrey goes at the 5'10" normally in FFPC best ball.
That's significant value.
Very good value there for Jeffrey as the number 3 receiver to Visconti. So good job there.
And if he stays healthy, he's the number 1 wide receiver for a team that has 2 really good quality quarterbacks.
Played last season on a torn rotator cuff.
That's not bad.
Don't throw.
I've had a torn labrum. I've
Did you play an NFL season with a?
No, I played in that church ball league with you, and I heard it.
And I'll tell you what. There might be some. The hitting might be harder in that church league, church basketball league than.
When I knocked it out of socket, I screamed like a choir girl. I was like the. I couldn't believe I was almost crying, and then I got back into shape, and I played the second half.
Our mutual friend, Aaron, our Butch's friend, Aaron,
sure.
I was just talking with him the other week, and we were talking about you, and he actually referenced your sublux. I remember he used to pop that shoulder out when we played basketball. That was bad. I'm like, yeah, well.
He was like Mel Gibson underneath the left. I just popped it right back into the bleacher and went back out there.
Yep, it was great. Tom Brady right after Jamison Crowder. Brady goes to Emilio and Lee there for Football Guys. Devin Funchess is the number 3 receiver drafted by Quintana and Mormon. Michael Crabtree off the board is the number 3 receiver by Bob Lung. And to complete the 7th round, it's Chris Thompson to Hacker and Stephan. And it is Emmanuel Manny Sanders as the number 2 receiver drafted by the tight end hoarder, Jen Ryan, as she starts off.
I love that name.
3 straight tight ends. And now she's doing a good job filling in the cracks there. We'll just preview the 8th round. She gets Pierre Garcon at the 801 tonight, and Shane Hallen, of course, Pros vs. Joe's drafter, FFPC player. He says Garcon at 801 feels like a steal. And you know what? It does feel like a steal. I'm going to tell you right now that he normally goes at the 810 in FFPC best balls. So maybe not much of a value there. But I do like that pick. You know, when you're on the ends and these things, you really, I mean, I always joke.
Yeah, pick your person.
I always joke. Is that your version of get your guys?
Well,
pick your player.
Well, we're talking about Jen Ryan's team, where I want to be like gender neutral here. You pick your person.
Pick your person. But it's such a ripoff of get your guys.
I want to make sure I approach both sides of the aisle, and that would be the more democratic thing to say. So
right.
Pick your person.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she's picking her people there and doing a good job. But the point I wanted to make is when you're on the ends like that, you really have to go out and, I mean, it sounds stupid, but you have to go out and get your guys. You can't wait around for them because there is going to be a long time before you can pick again. Let's power through the 8th round. We have Jason Rockfeldt coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Pierre Garcon, the 801 to Jen Ryan. Cameron Brate is the number 1 tight end by Hacker and Stephan at the 802. That's interesting. Jamal Williams is the number 3 running back drafted by Bob Lung, followed by Marquise Goodwin. 4th receiver selected by Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon tonight at the 804. The aforementioned David Njoku, I can't remember if we were talking about him on the show or pre-show tonight, but I know we were talking about David Njoku. Might have been both, quite frankly, as the number 2 tight end drafted by Alex Melio and Austin Lee. Robert Woods is the 3rd receiver drafted by Young and Moss. Carson Wentz, as Mike Visconti doubles up on quarterbacks. He took Russell Wilson in the 6th. He gets Carson Wentz here in the 8th, followed by Corey Davis to Reed and Connor as their number 3 receiver. I think they did a good job there. I know, Dave, you're not a huge fan of Corey Davis, but you start off with 5 non-receivers and still get Gordon, Watkins, and Davis. This is a team to watch for in winning this league, in my opinion, especially if Gordon gets into camp sooner rather than later. Drew Brees, the #1 quarterback drafted by Fantasy Mojo, ahead of Patrick Mahomes. It's inexplicable, I know, but this is Pros versus Joes. Anything can happen, and often does. Kirk Cousins, the selection right after Drew Brees. Kirk Cousins goes to Casey and Christian Dodge at the 8-10, followed by O.J. Howard, who is the #1 tight end for Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell. And then rounding out the 8th round is Dave Gerzak's favorite wide receiver. It is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb.
I don't hate him that badly.
You don't?
Well, I mean,
it's
not
interesting.
quite as bad as you make it seem.
I'm in a dynasty league with former guest of the show, the Rainmaker, the notorious BIP, Pip Blab Mandel.
It's just such a cool name he should use.
We have been going back and forth. Originally, I was trying to trade Randall Cobb in a dynasty league. He and I are both in. It has ballooned up into these massive trade discussions. And I feel like we're making it more complicated than it is. I offered to
just name your team the Wafflers.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, like, he's given me some tempting offers. But I was like, this is getting too big. It's involving Demaryius Thomas and my first rounder and his first rounder. Let's just keep it simple. So I re-offered Cobb for his, I believe, it was 205. I said, I'll just do this. And he didn't reject it, but he did send me another offer. So I'm like, and I rejected that one, and I haven't looked, but I know he sent me another offer again, or somebody did. And so I'll have to look at that after the show tonight. But Randall Cobb, it's really interesting what this is ballooned up to tonight with Cobb for sure. Let's go to the phone lines right now. I think I know who this is, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. Caller in the 614, you are on the air with Dave and Balky on the Pros vs. Joes live coverage. Who is this?
Hey guys, it's Scott Connor with Reed and Connor. How's it going?
Oh, good, man. You are not who I expected to be calling, but it's always good to hear from you. Of course, you and Jay Reed were just on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour probably about a month, 5-6 weeks ago or so, and we certainly enjoyed having you on. You are drafting in this best ball format. I mentioned earlier you're one of 2 teams to go 0 WR in this format, as you did not take a receiver until the 6th round. Talk a little bit, Scott, about how much of that played into your strategy and how the draft is going for you thus far.
Well, it's been really good, and it's been a little bit of some scrambling, so it's kind of been a good mix of both. We passed on Julio Jones, and looking back, knowing we were able to get Mixon and Derrick Henry in round 3 and round 4, probably would have taken Julio Jones there in round 2, but I really liked our recovery, being able to get Gordon, Watkins, and Corey Davis in 6, 7, 8. So along with Reed, it's a really boom or bust team thus far.
Yeah, the thing is, you have these pass-catching running backs on your squad. Kamara is going to catch a lot of passes. You'd like to think McKinnon is going to be heavily involved in that San Francisco passing game. I know Joe Mixon, everybody's looking for a bounce back and for him to take a step forward. Derrick Henry, maybe not the pass catcher in that Titans offense, but he's your number 4 running back. I mean, how much are you really counting on? Let's talk about the story of the night, really. Jen Ryan going with the 3 tight ends to start off the draft. You guys obviously did not react, to that, not taking a tight end until the 5th round. Were you surprised that no one else really reacted to that, as she was able to get Jimmy Graham as their number 3 tight end and the 4th one off the board at the 312?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected that someone was going to take the 2 tight ends, right there on the turn, whether it was at the 112, 2-1, or, sometime in the end. They usually are gone by the time, you get to the 3rd pick of the 2nd round. But I was surprised by the Jimmy Graham pick, and it did push some tight ends off a little bit quicker than I expected in round 4 and round 5. But I'm kind of indifferent to that type of strategy. So I think everyone after us made the right move by not reacting. I don't think you can react like that. You got to kind of let that person isolate themselves on their own drafting island and just work your own board.
Yeah, you guys worked the board. I mean, I commented on this earlier. When you wait until round 6 to draft receivers and you're still getting a talent of like Josh Gordon, a talent like Sammy Watkins, and a guy I believe is also pedigreed and is going to have a big season this year, and Corey Davis. You guys, you had to be really thrilled that those 3 guys got on your roster at that point, that they were still available for you.
Yeah, we actually were going to consider Josh Gordon in round 5, but we really wanted Kyle Rudolph right there at the 5-4. And Armani took him at 5'4", so we ended up taking Jordan Reed, and we were hoping that Gordon would fall. He did. And then at the 7:05, we were debating between Watkins and Davis, so it was just a early Christmas present that we were able to get Davis coming back in the 8th.
Outside of the three tight end team, has there been a team that surprised you tonight? Has there been any surprising picks that you're like, wow, I'm surprised he went that early, or I'm surprised he fell that far? Has there anything, or just an overarching theme from this draft for you tonight, Scott? Has there been anything that's really stuck out to you?
Yeah, actually, a couple different ones. The Sony Michel pick, you guys talked about that earlier. I thought that was a little early for Sony, but I can see the strategy there going very similar to us. Going running back. The Ben Watson just getting drafted in the 9th. I guess that was maybe a little bit of reaction to the tight end run. I'm not super high on Watson. I think he has a very limited floor given his age. But that one surprised me. And then another one that surprised me was the Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers. Newton was a guy I was looking at a little later, but I was surprised that, someone went quarterback, especially with Rodgers and Newton. So those three things I would say stood out.
As far as YouTube's concerned, you guys are on the clock right now in the 10th round. Take us through the thought process on the selection you're making here in the 10th.
Well, I am just about to put the pick in, or at least let Jay know to put the pick in. He's manning the board right now, and I think we are going to pair with Watkins, we are going to take more risk and take Patrick Mahomes.
A man after my own heart. It's the pick of the draft so far. I love the Patrick Mahomes pick. The fact that you can get that kind of upside and you don't have to count on him as your number one quarterback, as you already have Mr. Consistent Matthew Stafford in the 9th round. I really like that pairing. And the fact that you get the hookup with all those big Watkins and Mahomes plays, they will be on your roster, and you can roll both those guys out. In a best ball format. Obviously, you're not starting them, but both those guys should be starting for you. The more big plays, the more action that they acquire, the better your team's going to be. And it's looking like a strong one. Like I said, I don't know if I would have started off the draft without a receiver in the first 5 rounds, but you guys are definitely making it work, and certainly making many pros proud, making me proud with the Mahomes pick. Scott, thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Best of luck to both you and Jay and all your leagues this year.
All right. Thank you both for having us. We'll see you guys in Vegas.
That sounds great. Scott Connor of Jay Reed and Scott Connor chiming in here tonight. Good job by them. Let's keep these phone lines blazing. They're white hot right now. We're going to keep them that way. We're going to go back to the 614 here. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Dave and Balky on the HSFF Hour.
Hey, it's Jason.
Jason Rock Phelps, the data scientist himself. You can follow on Twitter at Data Scientist FF. Of course, from SportsInjuryPredictor.com. Jason, it's one of those things where on the Monday night draft, I felt like there's heavy hitters in every draft, but that one was very heavy. You guys were obviously very intense, and we didn't get a whole lot of calls, which is fine. Evan Silva, we got his analysis on Friday night. So your opinion on how your pros versus Joe's draft from last Monday turned out, what did you think?
I don't want to brag here, but I feel pretty good. Hey, I felt like there was value pretty much the entire draft. I'm a big believer in ADP because, I trust the general consensus on players, and if I can get them after general consensus more often than not, I feel like I've built a pretty good team. So,
now, Jason, as the defense counsel here, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So you do work for Sports Injury Predictor, correct?
This is a great leading question. I love that. Listen.
The answer is yes or no. Do you or do you not work for Sports Injury Predictor?
I do.
And did you draft Jordan Reed in this draft?
Objection.
Overruled.
I did.
The counsel is badgering my witness.
Talk to us a little bit about drafting the quintessential most injured player in the history of sports, Jordan Reed. Actually, that's
okay, so,
right, yeah.
He's going to get injured. That's our prediction. I really wanted Olsen in round 4, Or I like to target Walker round 5, Rudolph round 6. Just missed out on Olsen in round 4. And I mean, you guys know the format, right? Like, it's a tight end premium league. Jordan Reed has a ton of upside if he's on the field. You only need one tight end to start. I backed him up with a couple other, not super high upside, but hopefully they give me some floor at the position. We're projecting Reed to with the second highest injury rate or injury chance of any other tight end. Eifert's at the top, which isn't a surprise to anybody, I don't think. So we certainly expect some games missed from Reed, but he's got upside, and I want to come out number 1 out of 60. So.
Right, exactly. You want to finish as high as you can. There's been guys who finished second place overall in the format and didn't win their own league.
Absolutely. I remember when we were talking about that draft that we said that his pick of Reed was kind of like the last of that caliber of player. Even when there was an injury risk, and then there was a pretty significant drop off after. We both like that pick.
You're looking at George Kittle, Trey Burton, Jack Doyle, Jared Cook all went after that. I don't think anybody would. Certainly somebody would disagree with us, but I think Jordan Reed clearly represents the highest ceiling of any of those guys. Olsen did go one pick before you in the 4th round. Olsen goes to Eric Danowski there at the 406. So certainly, and then you actually started off with 4 straight running backs in that draft, which I know a lot of people like to do in this format. You get Elliott, McKinnon, Joe Mixon, Kenyon Drake. You get Demaryius Thomas in the 5th round, and then Jordan Reed. I like the Corey Davis pick after that as well. So I know you're feeling strong about this draft. Did you have a favorite pick out of all these guys at all? When you look at your roster 28 rounds in, did you have a guy you're like, oh man, I really nailed that round? That was a guy I was really, really happy to get on my squad.
Hey, the Wilson pick was great value. That was probably over 2 rounds of value. Everybody was playing quarterback chicken in this draft, and I benefited. So that was good. I still don't love drafting a quarterback that early, but Russell Wilson in the 8th, I'll take. But I probably love this more than I should. But when I compare Rashard Matthews in the 13th with Corey Davis in the 7th, I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'd be happy. You look at how your team ended up. You get the 3 kickers, you get the 3 defenses, which, I obviously am always a big fan of. Only 2 quarterbacks in this league. Was that just a factor of getting such good value on Wilson? You felt like, if I back him up with Andy Dalton, I'm probably good there, and I can focus on receiver the last 8 to 10 rounds?
Yeah, again, it's about upside of the team, right? This isn't a double up. So I need to finish first out of 12 in this league or first out of 60 across. Or wait a minute, are there 6 leagues? Pros versus Joes?
6 leagues, yes, sir.
All right, so I've got to get up to first out of 72, right?
Right.
So
if you want to be now, remember, Jason, I will say this in case anybody's wondering: the only thing you get for finishing first overall is probably your picture in the FFPC e-newsletter. You will get the free main event team, but there is no
I want the bragging rights.
There you go. That's the right attitude to have.
It's a $15,000 trophy too.
That I'm not aware of.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Actually, it's like the trophy from Caddyshack. It's about 4 inches tall, so it's the size of a pint glass.
Yep, you can drink.
We should actually do that.
Nobody's gonna want that. That's just.
Who cares if they want it? It's cool if we do have it.
Jason,
and make it a traveling trophy on top.
Yes, well, there's something to be said for that. I will say this.
As long as I'm getting 2 quarterbacks. So as long as I'm getting 2 quarterbacks in like the top 18 or so, I'm pretty comfortable stopping at 2 in a format like this. As long as both stay healthy, I feel confident about my team finishing at or near the top, especially with Russell Wilson, with a high ceiling each week.
I do want to ask you, because I'm seeing a pattern here in what you did in the second half of this draft. Now, you already mentioned Rashard Matthews and Corey Davis, which I think was clear that was a nice pairing there. Demaryius Thomas, you also get Cortland Sutton late. You have Quincy Enunwa, and then you also get Terrell Pryor. You have the Keelan Cole pick I really like too. Then you have Corey Coleman on this roster and Antonio Callaway. So I feel like you're drafted. It's sort of like Wayne Ellis.
Ask about Keelan Cole's dynasty process.
I will talk about that in a second. But it's sort of like what Wayne Ellis always talked about in a best ball format. You're drafting like these pockets of fantasy goodness. And you drafted, I mean, it took more than one pick, obviously, but you're drafting these pairs, these pockets of fantasy value. I mean, were you intentionally doing that, trying to lock up, two receivers from the same team?
Yeah, so I've done some research for Draft Sharks in the past, in the best ball format, and one of the studies I did was related to stacking, players on the same team. And, the research I did showed that it was more beneficial to draft a stack than it was to pick some alternative, kind of at the same position. Like let's see, Terrence Williams went 2 picks after Terrell Pryor in my draft. If I, had replaced that in my study, the research showed that I would have done slightly worse. So the theory behind it, right, is you're only starting 11 players and drafting 28. You don't need everybody to pop each week, right? So you're trying to increase the probability that you'll get a handful of wide receivers, out of my 12 that are on my team now, to fill in. I only have to start 2. I have 4 running backs in the first 4 rounds. In this format compared to other best ball formats, you have 2 flex spots. So I'm not wasting my 4th round pick on a bench slot, right, in this format. So all I need to get a definite 2 wide receivers each week. And with the added bonus, maybe they outperform a couple of my, my 3rd or 4th running backs and get into the flex spot. So, again, I don't need both Terrell Pryor and Quincy Enunwa to pop the same week, but if it's likely, or it's more likely that one of those goes off than 2 unconnected guys.
Jason, we know you do work have done work for Draft Sharks. Of course, all the work you do at sportsinjurypredictor.com. Tell us a little bit of for people who are not yet fans of your work, which we know.
We're big fans of your middle name, though.
We're going to get into that. But for anybody who is not familiar with the work, tell the listeners a little bit about what you do.
So I completely understand the skepticism behind the ability to predict injury. So let me relate it to you like this, right? So the positional injury rates, right? We all are familiar with running backs getting more injured than quarterbacks, and then for player injury rates, where we all expect Ben Roethlisberger to get injured with more frequency than like Eli Manning, right? So those have some predictive value. Using that predictive value is kind of like using last year's final rankings if you were just building your draft board. We all know that just using last year's rankings are faulty, right? I mean, they're pretty good, right? Gurley's the number 1 pick this year, but David Johnson's the number 3 pick this year, right? And that obviously wouldn't be the case if you're just looking at last year's rankings. So everybody looks at the rankings for this year. Fantasy analysts do new analysis, create their rankings. They're similar to last year's final rankings, but there's a lot of differences too. That's essentially the value add on what we're doing, using machine learning to do predictive modeling on injury rates for individual players.
Fantastic stuff, and obviously everybody needs to check that kind of thing out before all the work you're doing before they're getting into their drafts this year. I think it's very important. We've referenced sports injury predictor stuff on our show numerous times in the past.
As far as skepticism goes and credibility goes, I'm finalizing some research that I'll be submitting for publication here in the next month or so. So, if it gets past a peer-reviewed journal, then hopefully that adds some credibility to it.
Yeah,
New England Journal of Medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, that's probably not going to be that.
But
what
you never know.
What do you submit? I'm seriously curious. Is there like a statistics type journal or something of that? Is that where you submit it, or where?
Well, I have some multiple options. There's some sports analytics journals
Sure.
that I can submit to. There's sports medicine journals. There's like the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference.
Have you been to that, by the way? Have you been to that conference? Or do you
Yeah,
plan to go
yeah, I did. I went for my first time this past year. It was great.
I think that was pretty awesome, right?
I mean, it's in my element though, so I mean, it might not be for everybody, but I enjoyed it a lot.
No, it just seems interesting. Yeah, it seems super interesting. If I was to go, I would actually have to cram up like 2 statistics courses on Coursera or something before I even felt like I should walk in the door.
You should be intimidated. There's a lot of business sessions where you're listening to like Alex Rodriguez and a panel of a few others talk about sports startups and things like that. So it's not all analytics. It's and Obama was there this past year, just talking about using data to make informed decisions. So
that'd be cool. So can anyone go? Do you have to get invited? Is there a cost? I'm taking over the show.
There's definitely a cost.
I assume it costs a bit.
It's like it might be like $700 a ticket.
Yeah, that's right. FFPC costs that much, and I don't get any value out of that.
I don't want to talk about it. Just keep it on Sloan.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It definitely will hit your pocketbook, but.
So, hey, we can write that off, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Jason, listen, everything you've said, obviously very important. None as important as why you go by the moniker Jason Rock Phelps.
Oh, you want the moniker? Maybe his mom named him Rock.
Okay, maybe it is your middle name. Tell us a little bit about the Rock.
So it's my legal middle name now. It was actually my wife's maiden name. So I took her middle name. She moved her last name to her middle name, took my last name. She still regrets that. And then both of our kids are now Rock Phelps. So the whole family, middle name Rock, last name Phelps.
What are their
Owen
first
and
names?
Ella.
Oh, I haven't Ella.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Love the name. Owen's cool, too.
Yes, well, nothing is as cool as Rock.
I don't have a Rock middle name for myself or my kids, so this kind of sucks.
Yeah, listen, Jason, we're going to follow you, and everybody should be following you.
Better than Jake Butt, though, who just got picked.
At Data Scientist FF on Twitter, of course. 2015 FSWA Newcomer of the Year finalist for your work at Draft Sharks. Obviously, all the great stuff you do at Injury Predictor, and we'll be looking out for those scholarly journals, man, and get this peer-reviewed research out there and really make a name for yourself, even bigger than you already have. Thanks so much for calling in tonight, talking about your draft. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. This was awesome. I checked another podcast off my bucket list.
There you go. Listen, if you're checking our show off, that has to be one hell of a long bucket list.
Yeah. Get the zip lining a little higher.
Yeah, exactly. Jason, good luck in all your leagues this year, man, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Jason Rock Phelps at Data Scientist FF on Twitter. Great stuff from him.
Cool story, actually, about the name.
Yeah, you could have given me a zillion guesses. I probably would not have guessed any of them.
A zillion?
Well, maybe a million.
Like maybe 50.
No, 50. Come on.
He took his wife's last.
Be real, Dave. That's enough. We could probably power through one more round here, and then we have to get through team analysis after that. So I left off with the 8th round. Let's get to the 9th.
Oh, let's just power through all these rounds.
Yeah, we can do that and see. Well, that's not going to leave us a lot of time for team analysis.
Go ahead.
Andrew Luck, the 901, first quarterback drafted by Miley and Grabanowski. Will Fuller right after that as the 5th receiver drafted, 902 for Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell. Benjamin Watson, the first tight end for the Dodgers here at the 903, followed by a couple of quarterbacks. Phil Rivers to Fantasy Mojo, Matthew Stafford to Reed and Connor. Marlon Mack, the number 3 running back to Mike Piscani. Feel like I should be blowing a harmonica after that. Shout out to Matt Kelly, who I think will be drafting tomorrow. Ricky Seals-Jones is the 2nd tight end drafted by Eric Young and Keno Moss. Ben Roethlisberger, the backup quarterback to Tom Brady on Alex Melio and Austin Lee's FootballGuys.com entry. You have Eric Ebron after that as the number 1 tight end to Quintana and Mormon, and I think certainly that's the tight end. The tight end run caught up a little bit too slow to Quintana and Mormon. I think if they had to do it over, they probably would have invested in a different tight end. But they did a good job after that with getting some quantity in there, even though the quality is not there. I'll tell you about that in a second. Sterling Shepard is the 4th receiver drafted by Bob Lung. Matt Ryan, the penultimate pick here in the 9th round to Hacker and Steffen. And then Isaiah Kroll, number 3 running back drafted by Jen Ryan here in the 9th. Going through the 10th, let's get through that real quick. Jimmy Garoppolo is the first quarterback drafted by Jen Ryan. Alex Smith is backing up Matt Ryan for Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen. James White is the 4th running back drafted by Bob Lung. Chris Carson is the number 3 back for Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon. Followed by Devontae Parker. This is the first receiver drafted since round 3 for Alex Melio and Austin Lee. They start off with 3 straight receivers. Do not draft another one until round 10. Cooper Kupp is the 4th receiver selected by Eric Young and Keno Moss. Then you have Charles Clay going off the board as the 2nd tight end for Mike Visconti. Patrick Mahomes, who you heard the pick on these airwaves, Jay Reed and Scott Connor take him. At the 10:08 tonight, Robbie Anderson is the number 3 receiver for Fantasy Mojo's Darren Armani. Jared Cook, back-to-back tight end picks for the Dodgers as they go Ben Watson in the 9th, Jared Cook in the 10th. C.J. Anderson is Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell as their number 4 running back. And then completing round 10, Nyheim Hines, another pass-catching running back. We said how Miley and Grabanowski could cover up Tevin Coleman a little bit if they get some pass catchers. And get pass catchers they did with Duke Johnson in the 7th, Nyheim Hines in the 10th to complete 10 rounds of action here in the Pros versus Joe's draft. I'm going to leave it up to you, Dave. First of all, do you have any thoughts before we get to this? Do you have any thoughts on rounds 9 or 10? Any picks that stood out to you that you want to talk about?
Where does Marlon Mack normally go? He went at the 906 here. It seems like late for where he goes. I mean, it seems he's a starting running back for the Colts. It just seems like that's a little bit of a deal.
It does seem late, Dave.
It's not?
And it seems late because it is. 706 is his ADP and FFPC best ball.
Right.
So that was certainly some good value for Marlon Mack.
I thought that was. Yeah.
And that was, that was to
Visconti.
Mike Visconti. Yeah, so Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, and then
they got that Alshon Jeffrey pick too. These guys are picking off some value here in the middle of this draft.
Yeah, he certainly is. And picking off some Eagles too. Alshon Jeffrey, Carson Wentz, and Nelson Aguilar.
Aguilar with Jeffrey?
And Wentz.
I like that. That's pretty sweet.
That's
actually
interesting.
I mean, these are the Super Bowl champs, and you have to go round 7, 8, and 11. Doesn't cost you very much.
It's Philly. Nobody respects them, and they live off that. These guys, they're walking to the stage, shaking FFPC Commissioner Alex Kaganovsky's hand, and they're wearing the underdog mask still. Carson Wentz is up there with the bulldog mask. Alshon Jeffrey wearing the Cocker Spaniel, and of course the Greyhound is Nelson Aguilar, all wearing the dog masks. They are the underdogs still in 2018, certainly fantasy underdogs as well. Any other picks that you want to talk about besides Marlon Mack? Otherwise, we can move on to team analysis if we want to get to everybody.
Yeah, let's talk teams.
Let's talk teams, Dave, and we'll kick it off with Miley and Grabanowski here from the 1 spot. The running backs, Todd Gurley, Tevin Coleman, Duke Johnson, Nyheim Hines. The receivers, A.J. Green, Doug Baldwin, Randall Cobb, Kelvin Benjamin. Tight ends, Delaney Walker, Greg Olson. Quarterbacks are Andrew Luck and Blake Bortles. Defense is Jacksonville. You can tell these are high-stakes players, successful high-stakes players, Dave. And the reason I say that, the one overarching theme I can see with the majority of their picks, high-targeted individuals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think they did a nice job structuring the tight ends versus quarterbacks. You know, they waited on Luck, and they took Bortles at the 13th round, and I'm going to be able to talk about that. Their receivers are a little bit on the weak side. Cobb and Benjamin are going to have to come through, and they only have 4 through 13 rounds. I mean, why? Again, congratulations, you have the Jaguars defense. Your receivers are not deep enough yet to be taking defenses, so I think that's my concern. You got Gurley. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with Gurley, A.J. Green, Baldwin, those are fine, and tight ends are actually pretty solid too.
I'm not as concerned with the receivers. I think there's some good guys that you can get here in the second half of the draft. I want to get back to team analysis, but the 619 has been very patient tonight, extremely patient, Dave. And we're going to go to the 619 right now. You are on the air for the Pros versus Joe's coverage with Dave and Balky. Who is this?
Hey, this is the Keno.
Keno Moss. What's up, man? I'm so glad we
get a cool name. We got Keno Moss on here.
Another fantastic name. We're just full of them tonight. Now, if you could ever find a guy named Keno Rock, I mean, I think you'd have something there.
This is Dave Gerzakski over here.
Yeah, exactly. Keno Moss, still a great name, and a great team you guys are putting together. You went 0 WR tonight. You and Eric Young. Talk a little bit about what the thought process was by not taking a receiver until round 6.
It was definitely not planned, boys, but kind of the draft dictated. You know, I like Sony Michel a lot, obviously, in the 3rd. And then, as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, I really like Deion in the 4th. So I feel like we got 4 number 1 running backs. I mean, all kind of PPR guys, as well as, you know, being able to get I really got nervous with Kittle because if Jordan Reed went prior, I think he went 2 picks prior, I was kind of nervous about him. I really preferred Kittle. So the receivers, yeah, we didn't want to wait as long as we did, but I feel like we got a number 1 with Edelman. So I feel like we really got lucky in that situation. We just got to kind of figure it out till week 5, you know.
Yeah, and let's talk about that because you
only
have
need 2 of them though, right? You only need 2 for 3.
You only need, yeah, exactly. You have 5 non-receivers to start off. So you and Eric are looking at receivers in the 6th. Were you just looking like, okay, who's going to get a lot of targets here this season? And let's just go with that because I feel like what you did in the 6th and 7th, you get Julian Edelman, who should get a ton of targets. You get Jamison Crowder, who again should get a lot of targets. Was it just the analysis of like who's going to get the ball thrown to him a lot, and let's go with those guys?
100%. I mean, we were looking for, you know, the de facto number 1. And when Edelman's in the game, he's, especially in the first half, it seems like he always kind of gets targeted to get them going. And again, if Crowder turns out to be Alex Smith's guy, I mean, he's going to get fed the ball, especially when he throws the ball a little more than he wants to or than he should, it seems. So I can live with that, like I said. And like the other caller earlier, you know, I really only need to end up squeezing 2 out of the next 5 or 6, so it's almost like a shotgun approach. But I'm looking for the targets in those 2 rounds for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this after round 8, something I think is interesting that you guys did. Robert Woods in the 8th, Cooper Kupp in the 10th, and then Jared Goff in the 11th. All hail the Rams because you got some pretty good pieces of their passing game right there.
All hail McVay, boys. All hail McVay. I'm a believer in him.
Yeah.
It just kind of worked out. Robert Woods in that round was really, for me, the only guy who puts up number 1 type numbers. And if he can build on what he did last year, I love it. Cooper Kupp is kind of like a little Edelman Jr., just a PPR guy. And I felt like, I honestly, it was almost like insurance in a best ball. Like, if one of those guys goes down, the other ones, the targets are going to not, 100% go, but it's going to shift a little bit. So I feel like from game to game with that offense, we're kind of insulated in regards to, like, having that down week. You only need one of those 2 guys, in theory, to start, and they both hit. I mean, you just got Edelman is just icing.
Keno, we've been talking about this basically with every caller, and I don't want to get your opinion on it. Jen Ryan goes tight end to start off the draft. I know you said your start was not planned, and you kind of rolled with it. How much impact did the 12 spot going with 3 straight tight ends to kick things off? How much of an impact did that have on what you guys did? And you can specifically mention George Kittle in acquiring him, but what kind of impact did that have on your draft?
It really didn't impact it because those 3 guys went kind of where they were supposed to go anyways. What impacted it was the next 4 guys going off the board, like Delaney, Rudolph, etc. So if those guys don't go, and if there's a little bit more depth in that tier at tight end, I would probably have passed on Kittle. So that was probably the one pick where I wouldn't say I was forced, but the draft was really kind of dictating where we should go, in my opinion, because we had already had the running back and it was between wide receiver and tight end at that point. Seeing that really Kittle was the only guy that I penciled in for 70-plus catches, it kind of was like, let's just get Kittle now. And we talked about it earlier, even if we have to reach for Kittle in the 5th or the 6th, we'll make it happen, and then I'll figure out the receivers later, which I feel like we're kind of doing right now.
Keno Moss, ladies and gentlemen, of course, a former guest of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, drafting live on the Pros vs. Joes draft tonight. I like that Breida pick in the 13th as well. I think that could pay off for more than a few weeks for you this year. I like Ricky Seals-Jones as well. So I think, I would not have. I don't think I would be strong enough to start off a draft with 5 straight picks without a receiver. But I think you guys, both you and Jay Reed and Scott Connor, you made it work tonight. And you definitely put together a strong, competitive team that I think is going to be in the thick of it until the end. I do want to thank you for calling back into the show. Always a pleasure to talk to you, man. And good luck in all your leagues this year.
You got it, boys. Likewise. Happy hunting, gentlemen.
Thank you, Keno Moss, ladies and gentlemen, former guest of the show, and great caller again tonight. Good analysis. I love talking to these guys when you have a strategy going in, but to be fungible, to be flexible, to work your team on the fly is so crucial. And these Joes are doing it tonight, my friend. They are doing it.
Right, they are. Unfortunately, I don't like Keno because he has a smoother, cooler voice than I do.
Very
cool.
cool.
On top of a better name.
Yeah.
His voice is just he's chill. He's very nice.
Great name. Silky smooth voice.
He should be like
good fantasy drafter.
He should take my job.
He might, quite frankly. There's some stuff going on behind the scenes.
Well,
you
always say Dave Gerzak is here. It's like, Dave Gerzak is here because it's so rare that he's here. He's usually off on vacation, farting around all the time.
Your words, not mine. Moving on. Curtis Patrick and Ryan McDowell from Dynasty Command Center. Running backs David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, Alex Collins, C.J. Anderson, and Aaron Jones. Receivers Devontae Adams, T.Y. Hilton, Chris Hogan, Marvin Jones, Will Fuller. Tight end is O.J. Howard. Quarterbacks are Marcus Mariota and Mitchell Trubisky. Dave, I look at this squad, and I guess I'm not a huge fan of the receivers, although Adams and Hilton, I think they're going to be good. The running backs are strong on the top end. Tight end, I think, to me, is an issue here with just O.J. Howard so far on
they have half a tight end
team. Yeah, through 13 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the problems with the Jen Ryan strategy is that it does force teams that if they don't take a tight end, you do get screwed, and they're in the process of having that happen to them.
I will say this, Dynasty Command Center is who these guys are repping tonight. No rookies on the team, so these guys did their homework.
Oh, good job.
They're not falling back on this, let's take a rookie. We know him.
Yeah, the rest of the team's great, but they're going to need the ultra sleepers, and they need Cameron Brate to go back to college or go for his master's degree or whatever from Harvard, and have Howard just get all the targets.
Yeah, that would be interesting, and a non-zero chance of it happening. Casey and Christian Dodge here at the number 3 spot. Let's talk about their squad. Le'Veon Bell, Rashad Penny, Royce Freeman, Tariq Cohen, Kerryon Johnson are the running backs. Receivers Julio Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, Kenny Stills. Tight ends, Benjamin Watson, Jared Cook, Vance McDonald. Quarterbacks are Kirk Cousins and Eli Manning. Well, clearly the reason that Patrick and McDowell could not draft any rookies was because you had the Dodgers sweeping all the rookies up right next to them in Penny and Freeman and Kerryon Johnson. So you look at this squad, Dave, light in the receiver depth. I mean, I obviously like the first two quite a bit. I love them for the first two. Good running back depth. I think for waiting on tight end to get Watson. What?
I mean, good.
Well, it's great.
It's like amazing.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
That's fine.
Go ahead.
And then, I don't like to use superlatives on this show.
Never.
Yeah, never. I never have used superlative or exaggerated. The fact that they wait until round 9 to draft a tight end and still get Watson, Cook, and McDonald, I thought that was good. But, again, the receiver depth is going to be key. You got to start filling in these cracks pretty quick.
And there's still some receivers out there. It's the 14th round, so they're going to need to hit that. The running backs they're pretty darn. I mean, granted, there's a lot of young guys.
Kerryon Johnson's the 5.
Penny, Freeman, Johnson with Cohen, and then Le'Veon Bell as the anchor. That's pretty outstanding, actually, at running backs. So I feel really good that they're going to be starting four running backs all the time. Julio and Fitz, you just got to feel super comfy as the ball you would say.
Yeah.
As your 2 core receivers, Kenny Stills is a nice value pick. And even at tight end, like Ben Watson for the Saints, and then Vance McDonald, they're going to hyping him up a little bit in Pittsburgh, and Cook, I don't really care for that much, but those are the 3 garbagey tight ends. That's kind of the strategy I would pull there, and Cousins and Manning. I actually like this team quite a bit.
Let's go to the I think I'm, again, not exaggerating when I say this is probably the worst team I have ever seen in Pros vs. Joe's history from the 4 spot.
Yeah, this dude should give it up.
Yeah, Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com. Running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Lamar Miller, Rex Burkhead, Giovanni Bernard, and Nick Chubb. Receivers, Mike Evans.
Chubb in the 12th again.
Yeah,
what the hell is going
on?
It's
crazy. Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry, Robbie Anderson, and Marquise Lee at receiver. Tight ends are Zach Ertz and Kyle Rudolph. And the quarterbacks, Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Dave, the receiver depth isn't, it's not incredible, but I'm fine with Anderson and Lee. He gets Rashard Matthews in the 14th here. I think that's a good job. I like the fact that he got both Ertz and Rudolph on his team early. He's set up at quarterback clearly with Brees and Rivers. The only thing better would have been Mahomes and Rivers. And then you have the running backs. We're not crazy about Miller and Burkhead, but they should get some volume, and I like Bernard. He's going to catch some passes there. And Nick Chubb, obviously a fantastic value in round 12. So this is a good team. Kidding aside, this is a good team from Darren Armani here from Fantasy Mojo in the 4 spot.
Oh, man, he tweeted after the draft where Chubb went at the 12:09. That was the latest that Nick Chubb had ever gone. And then he gets them at like the same spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
I just looked up Nick Chubb in case I missed like some sort of issue or whatever, and it says like they're saying he's like an old school type player. That's what they're giving the name, and he looks good and this and that. I mean, that's just like insanely crazy value. I think that's nuts. Anyway, if the rest of the team is good, I mean, I think Rudolph and Ertz, that's an elite combo.
Yeah, definitely.
And running backs are solid, especially with Chubb super cheap. It's a really good team. Nice job.
Moving on to Jay Reed and Scott Connor. Running backs, Alvin Kamara, Jerick McKinnon, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Ty Montgomery. They're good, I guess, at running back. Receivers, Josh Gordon, Sammy Watkins, Corey Davis, Kenny Golladay, and Josh Doxson. Tight ends, Jordan Reed and Jake Butt. Quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford and Patrick Mahomes. We kind of, when Scott called in, we kind of talked about his team. I was a fan of what they did at receiver, given where they started, working on it. Jordan Reed obviously certainly has a super high ceiling, and the running backs are awesome. Quarterbacks are obviously fine with Stafford and Mahomes. Tight ends, Reed and Butt, I'd like to have a little bit better second tight end if Jordan Reed is my lead tight end, but I'm picking at nits a little bit here. I think this is going to be a very competitive team.
You can tell these guys are high-stakes players immediately. I can tell immediately when I look at the receivers they drafted. Gordon, Watkins, Corey Davis, Kenny Golladay, and Josh Doxson. What do they all have? They all have tons of downside, but they all have tons of upside. And those are the types of players you take in main event drafts that end up coming out of nowhere. Kenny Golladay, oh my God, Marvin Jones got hurt. Kenny Golladay goes for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. Crap like that happens all the time in the NFL. Doxson has been crap his whole career. He could emerge. He's definitely possible to come out of nowhere and actually be a decent receiver. Why not? The running backs are fantastic. I actually like this team quite a bit. The tight end, I'm not sure if I'm buying Jake Butt. And Jordan Reed is super injury prone, so they're going to still need to do a little bit of work at that position.
But getting a starting tight end in round 12 in the tight end premium format, I think there's something to be said for that. Those receivers, too, all beasts, or they should be beasts in the end zone. I think Sammy Watkins is the smallest of them, which was pretty crazy to say because he ain't no shrimp. Mike Visconti from Fantasy Sports Central, Dalvin Cook, Mark Ingram, Marlon Mack, Doug Martin at running back. Receiver, Antonio Brown, Adam Thielen, Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar. Tight ends, Evan Engram, Charles Clay, Vernon Davis. Quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, and Case Keenum. This is another very balanced roster, Dave. If you have Doug Martin actually come through in the 14th as your number 4 running back, this team could actually be pretty, it should be right at the top of the leaderboard, I would think.
Yeah, I think they need a little bit more tight end, or not tight end, receiver depth, but yeah, I thought they got a lot of good values. They do need Marlon Mack, like you said, Marlon Mack and Doug Martin to do something when Ingram's out for those first 4 weeks.
Right.
And so it's an interesting team. I think they actually have a pretty good shot, though. It's weird because I'm trying to find something to poke a hole in. And for some reason, I don't love it as much as some of the other teams, but it's actually a really solid team. It's really balanced, and they got great values all over the place.
If it can somehow get off to a fast start, too, that's going to give them a lot of momentum when they get Ingram back.
Their quarterback, for what they paid, 6th, 8th, and 13th, their quarterbacks are actually really fantastic.
Yeah, really, really good. Eric Young and Keno Moss. We just talked to Keno about his team. Saquon Barkley, Devontae Freeman, Sony Michel, Dion Lewis, and Matt Breida at running back. Receivers, Julian Edelman, Jamison Crowder, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. Tight ends, George Kittle, Ricky Seals-Jones. And quarterbacks, Jared Goff, Derek Carr, and Joe Flacco. I'm totally fine with the quarterbacks, despite waiting until round 11 to grab one.
Sure.
The tight ends, there's a lot of upside there. I mean, certainly there's some downside with both Kittle and Seals-Jones, but those guys could, I mean, if they play up to their potential, that could actually be a strength of their team. Obviously, the running backs are awesome, and I really like what they did with those 4 receivers. I'm not the hugest fan of Robert Woods, but when you get Woods and Kupp on the same team to go with Edelman and Crowder, that might be enough to weather the storm until Edelman gets back in Week 5.
Yeah, they still need to do some work at wide receiver. I agree with you. That it's okay.
Yeah, they have half a draft to do it.
They do. The running backs are fantastic. Breida I thought was a nice value pick. They've been talking him up at camp a lot. Derek Carr wears eyeliner, so I don't like him at all.
For God's sake.
Other than that, team's pretty good.
Moving on.
We already talked about this team.
Alex Melio and Austin Lee from FootballGuys.com. Running backs, LaShawn McCoy, Jay Ajayi, Carlos Hyde. Receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Parker, Alan Hearns, Cameron Meredith. Tight ends, Trey Burton, David Njoku. Quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, and Dak Prescott. Dave, I really, really like this team. I think it's going to be great if the running backs come through. LaShawn McCoy, I think no news is good news on his legal front. So I think that's looking like a steal there. But, behind him, they only have Ajayi and Hyde, and running back depth will be key. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of complaints.
The team actually would be a lot better. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
You have Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. What the hell do you need Dak Prescott for in the 12th round when you just drafted Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb, who goes in the 8th round, is still out there? You could back him up.
Yeah.
Best ball, Carlos Hyde with Nick Chubb. I feel like that was, for industry guys, I think that was a big mistake, to be honest with you. I think that was, who cares about Dak Prescott? You could literally put anyone behind Brady and Roethlisberger, and it doesn't even matter. So I feel like that was their biggest mistake. Otherwise, the rest of their team is great. I mean, the receivers are fantastic. McCoy, I don't know about Ajayi. I'm not a gargantuan Ajayi fan, but in the late 5th round, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Parker, Hearns, and Meredith too are pretty good values.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on the Chubb over Prescott, but to bounce back and get Hearns and Meredith in rounds 13 and 14, I thought that was excellent. Moving on to Adrian Quintana and Mike Mormon here from the 9 spot. Melvin Gordon, Christian McCaffrey, Chris Carson, Devontae Booker at running back. Golden Tate, Demaryius Thomas, Devin Funchess, Marquise Goodwin at receiver. Eric Ebron, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, and Mike Gesicki at tight end. Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, and Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. I look at this team, Dave, and I think there's definitely some holes in it. I'm not a huge fan of the tight ends, but the fact that they do have 3 of them through 12 rounds, I mean, at least they have the quantity there. I would not have gone Rodgers and Newton back-to-back. I think that might have been a mistake. I probably would have gone with a running back there instead of Cam Newton. But the receivers, I think, are good. They just will need more of them, even though they have the consistency with Golden Tate and Demaryius Thomas right at the top.
Yeah, you pretty much echoed most of my thoughts. I think the Rodgers and Cam Newton kind of handicapped them a bit, and I think that just that whole issue ran all the rest of the way through their draft, and then it hurt my tight end quite a bit. But, it's not implausible if they get it, but I mean, Ebron's got to learn how to catch, or ASJ's got to really emerge.
BigGuyFantasySports.com's Bob Lung goes Leonard Fournette, Jordan Howard, Jamal Williams, James White, and Corey Clement at running back. Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs, Michael Crabtree, Sterling Shepard, and Ted Ginn at receiver. Tight ends are Jack Doyle and Hayden Hurst. Quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston. Again, another solid, good, all-around team. When Bob called in, he talked about this. Like, this is a well-rounded squad that's really worked out for him so far. I think the receivers are fine. I would have liked to see a little bit more at running back. But, I mean, Williams and White, you could do worse than them as your 3 and 4. And then to get Clement in the 14th, I think, was a good job. Hopefully Doyle works out. I know you're a bigger Hayden Hurst fan than I am, but I'd like to see more tight end depth there.
Yeah, if Doyle works out like Bob thinks he will, I think he'll be fine. But I think that is an issue. And I think taking a tight end and a quarterback in the 5th and 6th rounds kind of hampers your team a little bit as far as running back and receiver depth. I do like Hayden Hurst. I think he actually has potential to be a top 12 tight end as a rookie because he's so insanely old. But I think that's good for redraft, so who cares?
Yeah.
Now, this is a team that's supposed to have tight ends a lot, so I thought that was a solid value there. And, we'll just see how it goes. I think this team is pretty balanced, like you said.
Hayden Hurst, the first rookie tight end ever to collect Social Security in NFL history. You have Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones, Chris Thompson, and Bilal Powell as the running backs for Ron Hacker and Mark Steffen. Odell Beckham, Amari Cooper, Juju Smith-Schuster, Brandon Cooks, and Tyler Lockett at receiver. The tight ends are Cameron Brate, Tyler Eifert, and Austin Hooper. Matt Ryan and Alex Smith are the quarterbacks. So the question here is there enough running back depth? And I think that's incomplete right now. The receivers are awesome, and the question marks at tight end give me pause a little bit.
Well, if Ronald Jones I thought that was a nice value. It's about a 1 round worth of value on Ronald Jones. If he's as good as I think he's going to be, I think he'll be in good shape. The receivers are pretty ridiculous. If I was doing, this is a classic league, you're starting Beckham, Cooper, Juju, and Cooks, checking those off as your
and look at Lockett and Richardson, too.
Yeah, you got to feel pretty solid about that. The receivers are really, really strong. Brade, Eifert, and Hooper, that's kind of like I talk about my triumvirate of crappy tight ends.
Yep.
That's like a good one. That's a good triple threat. Like, Eifert, who's always hurt, but he could be awesome. Hooper, who's never really done as much as everyone's hoped, but young guy. And then Cameron Brate, who's actually just always overperformed his athleticism. So I think that's a really nice team. Nice job.
All right. Here's the main event, the team we wanted to break down.
The biggest hater of everybody.
Darius,
tight ends.
yeah, this is Jen Ryan, football diehards. Darius Geis, Marshawn Lynch, Isaiah Crowell, Theo Riddick, Frank Gore at running back. Receivers, Allen Robinson, Emmanuel Sanders, Pierre Garcon, Jordy Nelson, Mohamed Sanu. Tight ends, they're probably in the top half of the league.
Garbage.
Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, and Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Garoppolo, Andy Dalton, and Sam Bradford are the quarterbacks. So, Dave, I don't want to – I think I'm fine with, again, bear in mind the tight end value in a tight end premium format of what she did in the first 3 rounds. I think she did a pretty good job at running back and receiver to fill in the blanks there. I think the quarterbacks are going to be fine with Garoppolo, Dalton, and Bradford. I think those are great. And obviously, again, our tight ends by far and away the best in the league. A competitive team and a very intriguing team to follow throughout the 2018 season.
I totally agree. I think she could have passed on Jimmy Graham and taken somebody else. I think that was not quite needed.
No, that was needed. That made the show
receiver?
tonight. It was literally, we brought it up every 3 minutes on the show.
The quarterbacks are actually pretty solid. Running backs and receivers are a little bit to be desired, but that's because of the tight ends being so fantastic. It's tough to rip on this team. So, she's got a fighting chance for sure. And by the way, she did pretty much destroy like 2 or 3 other teams because of what she did. There's some
tight end lacking on this in this league because of Jen Ryan. So, man, if Pros vs. Joes next year, I hope this, honestly, here's what I hope. I hope it works out, and I hope she does it to the nth degree next year and goes 4 tight ends.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be great. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our show tonight. Once again, thanks to Dave Gerzak, Darren Armani, our producer and mutual friend Rob, the FFPC audio engineer Bryce, and most of all of you listeners and watchers tuning into youtube.com/highstakesfantasyfootball. The YouTube feed will be cut there shortly. However, you can check all our social accounts, the FFPC message boards, and of course, fantasymojo.com for the full draft boards in the morn. I want to thank callers Zach Jarrows, Darren Armani, Bob Long, Scott Connor, Jason Rockphelps, and Keno Moss. It might have been a new record, Dave. I don't know if we've ever had.
Yeah, the anti-number 2 draft.
Exactly. If you count the Jets caller we have at the start of the show, that was 7 callers in one Pros vs. Joes draft.
Pretty awesome.
That was fantastic.
I barely had him talk.
And it will be
such a good show.
Yeah, it will be a record that will stand for one day because tomorrow we're gonna break it. It's gonna be a record-breaking show tomorrow. Monday, July 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be on 1 hour later tonight, 8 Central. We will have another Pros vs. Joes draft for you tomorrow. I'm trying to think what it is. I think it's the Giant Walkie-Talkie League is tomorrow. Joes will be led by Brent Weaver, Matthew Korn, of course, Danny Mueller and Jeremy Roach. Look out for those guys, experienced best ballers. Sean Olander, Todd Musgrave, and Brad Pinkstaff. Brad Pinkstaff we had on the show a month or so ago, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. And then Norm Kanafsky and Scott Van Sickle drafting out of the 12 spot. Pros, it's an interesting lineup tomorrow from DraftSharks.com. It's Jared Smola, PlayerProfiler.com, and Roto Underworld Radio's Matt Kelly. 4 for 4 is John Paulson. Defending league champ Brandon Marion Lee from Her Fantasy Football will be on the show. Defending overall champion from Best Ball Command Center, it is Mike Beers, drafted from the 9 spot, and Jason Moore. Yes, Jason Moore from Fantasy Footballers rounds out the show tomorrow. So that will be fun.
What about Norm Kanafsky?
I said all the Joes, and then I said
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
No surprise there, yeah. I can tell you that for whatever reason, I think I'm more tired from commissioning drafts this year than I am from Pros vs. Joes. I'm flying high, man.
Nice.
I got no sleep last. Well, maybe that's what it is. It's all adrenaline.
I felt great last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melatonin.
I worked too late and was up too early out on the lake today.
Oh, it must be nice. Yeah.
No, it was not nice because I was in front of my computer. No, not my family yacht. Don't.
Your family pontoon rental? Was it a pontoon?
Yeah, it was a pontoon rental. It's exactly what it was.
That's pretty close. It's fun. Chain of Lakes?
It was all right. Chain of Lakes. It was great.
Nice.
Fantastic. So I got a chance to maybe that's what it was. I just got to relax and sort of recharge, and now I'll be ready for PBJ number 5.
So tomorrow. Exciting.
Yep. It'll be exciting tomorrow, 9/8 Central. See you then.
Amazon has everything for back to school. Zebra lunchbox? Check. Cool Adidas gear like t-shirts, shoes, and backpacks? Check. Triceratops folders and pencils? Check. Laser Cat t-shirts? Check. Get your back to school shopping done now at Amazon.com/back-to-school and enjoy free shipping on millions of items. No need to leave your home or hassle with crowds. Amazon.com. No better place to get everything back to school from A to Z. Amazon has everything for back to school. Zebra lunchbox? Check. Cool Adidas gear like t-shirts, shoes, and backpacks? Check. Triceratops folders and pencils? Check. Laser Cat t-shirts? Check. Get your back to school shopping done now at Amazon.com/back-to-school and enjoy free shipping on millions of items. No need to leave your home or hassle with crowds. Amazon.com. No better place to get everything back to school from A to Z.